It's 10 o'clock.
Ms.
Ms.
Matias,
Matias, are you ready to proceed?
Vice
Yes,
Chair,
I am.
Vice
Okay.
Chair Shibata is absent today.
Okay, ready, everyone?
Is he absent or remote?
Absent.
Okay, ready?
Absent, okay.
Ms. Matias, we are streaming, we are live. You may proceed with today's review session.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for April 16th, 2024. Please be reminded that there is no public testimony during the review session. Vice Chair Shibata will not be in attendance today. The first item up is zoning calendar, continued hearing items 2017-269BZ 65 Grasmere Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay, just scrolling through my, Ms. Benke, is there any update you can provide?
Still have open secret, right?
Sorry.
Correct, yes.
Um,
There is some open seeker air quality reviews open, hopefully soon.
Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you. Let's go to the
Vaughn?
next. Oh, the next case is adjourned. Yeah, anyway, you can announce it and adjourn.
Oh, it's adjourned? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. Item number 24, 2023-26BZ, 3002 Farragut Road, Brooklyn.
It's been adjourned. The applicant requested an adjournment. Next case.
Okay, 2020. Why am I getting feedback? 2023-35BZ, 11-17 Bay Park Place, Queens.
Okay. At the initial hearing, board, while considered the ask to be minimal, asked for more clarification regarding the proposed facility, site treatment, and maneuverability plan. And the applicant has provided its response. I have a couple of questions. In the statement, the applicant states that the students will travel back and forth between the subject site and the educational facility, and it's located on lot 40. So the students will be going back and forth between lot 40 and the interior walkway. I think that's a good thing. That would minimize the pedestrian activity on the city sidewalk. However, I would strongly ask if that's possible, even though lot 40 is not within our purview, to provide adequate amount of sound attenuation buffer along the fence. It is a recommendation. I recognize that this is not within our purview of our review, but it's a recommendation. With regards to the landscaping, landscaping has been added to the plan, and also a 6-foot high opaque fence along the side and the rear lot line abutting lots 25, 16, 11, 57, and 54. So while the planting is proposed along the side lot line abutting lot 34, a 6-foot high opaque fence also should be added, should be provided given the abutting building's proximity to the parking area and to provide more sound buffer. In-ground emerald green arborvitae tree are being proposed along the lot lines instead of planter boxes as directed by the board. So I want to thank the applicant for considering our recommendations and making those changes. I though would like the applicant to provide a width of the planting bed along the entire yard lines. In some places, it is indicated as 4 feet, but it's not consistent. So please indicate those in the plan. Landscaping along the front yard is proposed and to be more in keeping with the residential context. This is something the community has raised. The landscaping plan has been revised to reflect that. So that's a good, I want to thank the applicant for looking into that matter. The applicant has also revised the parking layout and provided a maneuverability plan for the proposed parking area and also when buses and vans will be coming on weekends for the students to be dispatched. I think all the information that has been provided has been responsive to the comments, and they have revised the parking plan by allowing for a little bit more maneuverability area within the site and allowing for the trucks, not trucks, the vans and the buses to be within the site. So I would say overall, the applicant has been very responsive to the comments and the concerns that we have heard from the community board and some of the opposition letters. So I was very satisfied with the submission. We also received a community board vote. It's an approval with condition. And the condition states that the site must include decorative front facade and front landscaping, which the applicant has responded to. I think that was raised at the land use committee meeting. So the applicant proactively accommodated that before even the community board vote. So I would suggest the applicant submit the revised set of plans to the community board so that it can, as a good faith gesture. I would say the proposed treatment of material, the treatment of the landscaping, the fence, they're very respectful of the built context. And so I think overall this, if done according to the plans as we see it, would be a project that would be very much in context and respectful of the residential context. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I feel that they were very responsive to our questions. I just have one more question, and it concerns that walkway between the adjacent school and the dorm. My question is this going to be a dedicated paved walkway that guides the students from one lot to the other? Because if it's not, then what's going to keep the students along this path and not cutting across the parking lot and then being much closer to the neighbors and possibly causing a disturbance at night? So that's my question. I think it should be a dedicated paved path to keep people in one general spot, one general direction as they go back and forth.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
That's my
suggestion.
only issue.
That's a good suggestion. So you would suggest that in lieu of a fencing that is more,
Well,
or
I'm
you-
not quite sure that it needs fencing because it is going from
it is
one
further
tax
away.
lot they own right into the other tax lot that they own to the back of the school building. But I think that if it isn't at least fenced off or dedicated, I could see young people, it's cold out. I'm just going to cross closer to the parking lot and cut across the back of tax lot 30, which is the backyard of the neighbor.
Got it.
It abuts the backyard of the neighbor, and that could be really annoying at 10 at night. If a bunch of young people
Sure.
start walking and they're yapping. So I just think it should be definitely specifically keeping the young people on their own tax lot and away from everybody else.
I like that suggestion too. You're right. As I'm visualizing it, it is away from the immediate residential lot lines, but keeping the students very much close to the walkway would be through a dedicated pathway and, right. Okay, good, thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. I agree that the submission was very responsive to our comments, including the treatment of the site perimeter, revising the parking, and the operation plan for the dorm. I don't have any further comments to add. I'm satisfied with the application.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I had a similar question to Commissioner Otley Brown, and it is if the applicant could just describe what's happening along the property line that is shared between the two tax lot lines, kind of going towards the same thing, like if it's fully open and paved across that lot line, then what is to guide them in this one specific path? So if the applicant could just speak to that a little bit, I think we're all having the same concern that we want to make sure that early in the morning, late at night, as kids are coming back and forth, that we are mindful of the neighbors. I had nothing further.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I like both of your suggestions. I think having a very defined designated walkway for the student would be a better solution. And whether they're coming in the morning, afternoon, or evening, at least we know they won't be straying from these pathways. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
New cases, item number 26, 2023-22BZ, 1A Jarvis Court, Queens.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. Community Board has voted to approve this application. We also received 5 letters of support. This is an application for a bulk variance pursuant to zoning resolution section 72-21 for an as of right house of worship, a use group 4 at the subject site. So the applicant is seeking a waiver of FAR, lot coverage, front yard, side yard, street wall height, and side setback requirement. So this is a corner lot. It is in AE flood zone. The applicant is proposing a 3-story building, no cellar. The first floor will consist of multipurpose room and warming kitchen, and the second floor will have the main sanctuary, and the third floor will have the women's sanctuary, with additional spaces, office and library in both of these floors. So first of all, regarding the side yard calculation, pursuant to zoning resolution section 24-35, the aggregate street wall width is measured per frontage. So based on that, the required side yard along Jarvis would be 9 foot 2 inches, and the required side yard along Beach 9th would be 8 foot. So 9.2 foot along Jarvis and 8 foot along Beach 9th. The way the architect measured it as a total aggregate of both street frontage. That's not how it is measured per ZR 2435. That exception only comes in when we are doing permitted obstructions and measuring how much the bulkhead is visible, and we look at the aggregate of the total frontage. But in this case, it's frontage per street. So please correct that, and that would actually change some of your the waiver ask would be less, and you can revise the drawings accordingly. So on the as of right, similar comments with regards to how ZR 2435 is being applied, and and so revise the drawings accordingly. I though would agree that regardless of an additional few feet of side yards, would not make the as of right floor plate big enough to accommodate the programmatic need the applicant has laid out. So based on that, let me go to the findings related to 7221. Since based on well-established state law, deference is allowed to religious and educational facilities per Cornell doctrine. And so based on the programmatic need the applicant has provided, I think the need is justified, and this is a very standard kind of a compact house of worship that we see on such lots. So I don't have any concern with that. I don't need a couple of clarification. Page 6 of statement of I think facts, I'm not sure if it's both of them on the same sheet, refers to 2 sets of number of congregation growth after 5 years for Sabbath morning prayer. One says anticipated growth after 5 years to be 105 families. And another on that same page, it says after 5 years, Sabbath prayer would be 148. So there were 148 male, 80 female, and the other one, it said 105 families, 105 men, and 105 women. So both are after 5 years, but there are 2 numbers shown. So please indicate which one the board should be reviewing. I'm assuming it's 148 because in the latter sections of the document, it refers to that. So as I stated, apart from this clarification, I'm satisfied with the programmatic need statement. With regards to the neighborhood character, the applicant is proposing the windows along the northern lot line will be opaque and inoperable. And the operable windows will be at 28 STC rating. And the applicant is also stating that the roof will not be occupied. So I would like the applicant to confirm that the elevator and the stair bulkhead meet the permitted obstruction requirement. And the other question I have is it possible to set the building back from Beach 9th Street by reducing the rear yard depth? Unlike Jarvis street frontage, Beach 9th has homes that are set back from the street line. Or could the grand staircase at the corner be reduced to allow for a gathering space outside the building? I just want to make sure, I'm trying to see if there's a way to facilitate an area for the congregants to gather within the property line before they move into the building, rather than the gathering being gathering occurring on the sidewalk. And I think Beach 9th is probably the better location for it because, well, that's where the main entrance is. But if it can be accommodated on Jarvis, that's a question I have. No comment. I'm satisfied with finding D. As I stated, with regards to finding E, comparing it with other house of worship, the proposed need and the ask is reasonable, but do need clarifications on some of these matters that I mentioned. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with you that the ask is very modest. And I really don't see a way in which we would want to cut down the size of this, given the fact that even at 100 families, 100 men, 100 women, plus young people who are aging into the synagogue adult population, I think that you wouldn't be able to have a building that can accommodate all of them unless you give them these waivers. But that being said, my only concern is there any way to have, if you can't put landscaping in the side yards, whether you could possibly put some kind of sound attenuated fencing that would at least buffer any sound from the neighbors? So that's my only question here.
Okay. Thank you. Any particular height? Typically, we look at 6 or 8 foot.
I guess 8 feet probably is your best bet if it's at all possible with a sound attenuation blanket. If there's, because I know that there are exits into the side yard along Jarvis, so it's not likely that they would be able to put any kind of landscaping there, but you're right next to a home.
Okay.
So that's why I'm thinking 8-foot fencing would be great with the sound attenuation, I guess, whatever you call it, blanket or whatever they put on it.
And this would be along the rear side, rear lot line.
And preferably both, because both side yards abut homes.
I thought.
At least what it
I thought the
appears to
building
be
is on the
homes.
property line. On one portion, it is on the property line.
No, this looks like there's a,
sorry.
That's not a side yard here?
I think that's a measurement. I could
Sorry,
be
can
wrong.
someone share the?
Oh,
plan?
yeah, can someone
Got it.
share the
Thank
plan? I
Got it,
think
got
that
it,
would
got
be
it.
helpful. Thank you.
I believe it's the
I'm
adjacent
looking
building. side
over
yard.
Commissioner Otley Brown's.
Oh, it's the adjacent building
I
side
believe
yard?
so,
Okay,
yeah.
so then just on the side yard that comes to Jarvis Court then.
Okay. And it may wrap around along the little portion by the rear side. I think that also would be,
Here,
yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with the both of you and Commissioner Brown comments. The only thing I thought about to maybe like squeeze the size of the building a little bit is to have a basement, but I'm not sure why don't have a basement. Is it the flood, the location within the flood
Yeah.
zone?
They are though dry flood proofing the ground floor because it's within the flood zone.
Yeah.
And the elevation, I think AE, it's an AE. flood zone.
Yes.
So, and the drawing shows where the flood level is. So
Yeah.
portion of the ground floor is below flood level. So anything below cellar will require significant amount of dry flood proofing, and the cost associated with it is probably the reason why they are not putting anything in the cellar and just building everything from street level.
Okay. The reason I raised
That
it.
is my guess, but the applicant can clarify.
The reason I raised it because of two things. I didn't see it in the statement.
Okay.
The reasoning why there is no basement, I was like, is it the flood zone? Is it a groundwater issue? But when I looked at the houses next door, they all have basements. I understand they were built like long time ago before the new FEMA maps came in effect. And the second thing is that when you look at the first floor, it's below flood already.
Mhm.
The existing elevations are around elevation 7 or so. So definitely elevation 7 is below flood. So they're gonna need to like dry proof maybe either way. So, yeah,
Which is what they're proposing. They're proposing to dry flood proof that portion on the ground floor.
okay.
I didn't check the notes, but if the notes are not there, they should very clearly state that it is meeting, that we are not waiving any of the flood regulations and that the ground floor is going to be dry flood proofed and would have to be reviewed by DOB.
Yeah, it's here.
It's there?
Yeah, it's highlighted here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, Commissioner? Shah?
Alice hand was up?
No,
Ms. Prenga's
that's
hand
all
was
I
up?
have. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Ms. Prenga?
Hi, I just wanted to mention that they, in their response to comments, they said that the portion below the BFE is level with the base plane and therefore would not qualify as a basement under the zoning resolution definition.
Portion below BFE would not qualify as basement. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can we just add like to the note, the standard note for the flood? The first sentence, BSA is not waiving any flood regulations and period, and then whatever is there is good.
Okay. All right. That's easy to be. Commissioner Yoon, thank you all. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I also thought overall the ask is minimal. I had a couple of questions. If one, is there any way to add street trees to Jarvis? Because they're only on Beach 9th. Also, just this is really just a technicality, but saying that the windows on the northern and eastern lot lines are inoperable and opaque. Because the eastern facade is not on the lot line, it would be better if we just said the northern and eastern facing windows. Also had a question about this is maybe just out of curiosity, but in the main shul, which is going to be considered a place of assembly, I assume, there's only one exit. And I was just thinking about how you have these two required exits because of the dry flood proofing on the first floor, but then on the second floor, it seems like there's only one exit. And if any thought has been given to where a secondary exit would be, and if it would need to come out of that side yard as well. The other thing I had is the, it's a small height ask. It's asking for 1 foot, I think, above the maximum. But the stairs, one of them goes up to the roof, and it's the larger stair B that goes up to the roof, and it creates a larger footprint of the stair that's also coincident with the street wall, which makes the building appear bigger. So if the applicant could take a look at pushing the stair back from the street wall. This is also maybe goes in tandem with what you said, Chair, about maybe creating some space along that corner. But in any case, you can see it just adds height to the, it's a permitted obstruction, but it is all in the sky exposure plan. So if there's a way to push it back from Beach 9th Street and or Jarvis, I think it will help minimize the feeling of height.
I have a, sorry,
No.
go ahead, Commissioner Yoon.
No,
I apologize.
I think that's all I had, so.
I have a question. You mentioned this. Yeah, so the required height is, permitted height is 35 feet and the proposed height is 36. So it's just by 1 foot. And as I'm looking at the floor to ceiling heights, yes, 12 foot is very typical. Would it be possible if we were to shave like 6 inches from the ground floor and 6 inches from the third floor? Wouldn't that make the building completely within the height limit and eliminate the need for a waiver?
I think so. I'm not sure if, because I don't know what the perimeter wall height is versus the maximum building height. I think that they're encroaching. There is some height, like the sky exposure plan, are they measuring it from where it would be if they had the front yards?
Right.
So all of it may be penetrating. In any case, they may need a height waiver. I also thought about like, can't we just make it 35 feet? Then we're not asking for it. But I believe that it's probably also needing the height waiver along the street frontages. But the
So-
applicant can clarify that. 'Cause I'm
Right.
not so sure.
As long as the perimeter wall height is what is permitted, I think that may be considered a permitted obstruction.
The stairs, yeah, but I think that the perimeter wall height may be 25 and then you can go up to 35. But that's where I would like the applicant to confirm.
Okay.
They're showing us the sky exposure plane from 35. But if they had their actual legal front yards, then the sky exposure plane would of course be located in a different place.
Mhm.
So this is the maximum height at the street wall, along the street line. So it's higher than it would be.
Yeah,
right,
I
obviously.
think the way the diagram is written, showing it's not asking for the waiver for the perimeter wall height. It is really asking for the street wall height. It's asking for the waiver for the street wall height and not not encroaching onto the sky exposure.
Yeah,
plane.
and that's where I would like the applicant to clarify because I might be confusing things.
Yeah, so the applicant, if you could clarify, this is a question for the applicant and architect to clarify that. And if you could eliminate one, I mean, if the ask is so minimal. It
Could be 4 inches from each floor. Yeah, instead of 12, 11,
whichever
8.
way.
Yeah.
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 Okay, but also Commissioner Yoon's question, if you could clarify what would be considered permitted obstruction and the perimeter wall height and how that is being measured, right?
I believe the stair is a permitted obstruction. I'm just asking that since the height is being asked for, that we can try and minimize the appearance of it by setting it back from
Yeah,
the street.
I agree.
That's,
I agree.
yeah, but it is a tight footprint, so I'm, there's maybe some options, but just for the applicant to consider that. Otherwise, I think, I didn't bring up the 36-foot as a problem because I think it's such a minimal ask, and 12-foot floor to floor is not grand by any means, for a community facility.
Mhm. And I would also recommend a little bit of articulation of the facades. It's that would also, I think, that may also break away a little bit of the way it's looking right now. It's a very monotonous wall. So providing some vertical or horizontal visual cues may also help.
I made him laugh. But he said it to me.
Are we going to the next one?
Yeah, I'm just putting my notes down.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, let's go.
Item number 27, 2023, 37 C, 8529 Commonwealth Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. Community board voted to disapprove this application, stating that currently the site exceeds the occupancy limit, and the proposed building design is ugly, and it would cause increased traffic in the area, and it would affect the quality of life in the neighborhood. We also received a petition from Belrose Commonwealth petition, stating that the zoning, traffic, congestion, parking, noise, safety issue, disturbance to neighbors, littering, timing of religious activities, which happens early morning and late evening, are very disruptive to the neighbors. In addition to that, we also received several letters of objections. And again, those also stated the concerns relating to parking, noise, loud music, and people congregates gathering outside the site. This is a corner site. This is an application for a bulk variance pursuant to zoning resolution 72-21 for an as of right house of worship, use group 4 at the subject site. The applicant is seeking a floor area waiver and a front yard waiver. As I mentioned, this is a corner site. There is an existing house of worship. I just as a in terms of a couple of house cleaning. The lot area varies between zoning sheet and the plan sheet, so please make it consistent. The statement of facts states as 4,182, whereas the lot area on the zoning and the plan sheet says 4,062, so please make it consistent. And I would also like the applicant to clarify what is illegally, while the use that is operating there is a permitted use. I would like to know if there is a certificate of occupancy or a PA permit for the current operation. So there is an existing house of worship. We generally do not see such applications. And this is a Hindu temple called Devalaya. The applicant is proposing a three-story, a cellar with 2 additional floors above. It's proposing to, it would be a new construction. Currently, there's an existing building that is being used as a house of worship, but the proposal is to have a new construction, which will contain a cellar, a ground floor, and a reduced floor plate on the second floor. So standard notes need to be added to the plans with regards to the kitchen. It shall not be used for catering purposes. The applicant needs to provide a refrigerated trash storage area within the building. With regards to the as of right, applicant needs to provide a justification why a lot line cellar cannot be built to accommodate much of the program space below grade, including dining and clergy room or even the prayer room downstairs. So with regards to the findings related to 7221, similar to the previous application, based on the well-established state law, deference is allowed to religious and educational facilities per Cornell doctrine. And as part of that, the applicant has submitted a programmatic need. Devalaya is a registered a nonprofit religious institution, and it's proposing to build a larger house of worship at this subject site to address its growing need, the growing congregation. So the applicant currently has a membership of this particular facility has a current membership of 19, and it is estimated to grow to 65 members within 2 years. Because of the growing community, Hindu community in the neighborhood. So I have one question. We typically in a lot of the house of worship, we see the numbers are provided as congregants or family. I want to know, what is membership in this case? Is membership same as individual, or membership is same as a family? So I would like that clarification, because that changes the number. 19 could be 19 times 4, because you may have averaging out 4 members per family or 5 members per family. So please do clarify that. And that affects the occupancy rate and how the room is being laid out. So with regards to the utilization, I would say, and from what I'm reading, I'm assuming this is a Bengali Hindu temple, and the programmatic description needs to elaborate the prayer services that are being offered, identify the projected number of congregants daily, weekends, and on special religious occasions like Durga Puja, Kali Puja. There are so many others I could name, but these are some of the main ones I can think of. The board does not see Hindu temples, and that to a Bengali Hindu temple. So the rituals and schedules for such a temple is quite different from other religious practices, and the applicant needs to describe them and indicate, and this may help us understand how this facility operates, and also help us in addressing some of the objections that we are hearing from the community. And those do need to be responded to. The applicant also needs to be responsive to those questions and concerns raised by the community. So I would say, though, unlike other religions, in Hindu religion, typically congregants gather on special occasions and for certain events that are set based on Hindu calendars. And sometimes these events are held in evenings, and sometimes these events happen for 5 days in a row, while others may be more like a 1 or 2 day event. So I would like the applicant to clarify all of this and clarify the use of the space based on these various programs and events. Typical weekday, typical weekend, some of the major religious events that are happening, and then there are others that are more like smaller events that are happening throughout the year. How are those accommodated? So please do go through that and explain that, and provide your calendar of worships that is currently happening in your temple, because I think pretty much all Hindu temples have a calendar of the events that are going to be held within the temple. I also, with that, would like to know how often the kitchen is being used, and is it only being used for during special events, or if it's only, or it's because that will also affect the location of the trash and the area of the trash. So with regards to the neighborhood character, proposed 25-foot height of the temple will be within the permitted height and would be within the height range of other houses of worship buildings that are located in the neighborhood. Typically, the house of worship that we generally see tend to be a little bit more than 24. So this is very much within that. And the buildings that have been indicated in the neighborhood character study tend to range from 24 foot to 52 feet. So this proposed height is well within that. Frontier study was also provided. I found it helpful. The proposed frontier depth, especially when comparing to corner lots to the proposed plan, majority of these corner lots have one front yard that is less than the required depth. So also given the lots irregularity, the front yard depth, while it may be less than 15 at the interior portion, but I think it increases to a depth of 15. So I would like the applicant to clarify that and indicate it on the plan. As I stated, board has received several objection letters, and the objections are related to the current operation and the compliant and complaints are related to noise during Mahalaya, Shondi Puja, held during a religious holiday, and providing tents to use the outdoor area. The applicant needs to provide a solution to address this, and as I think this board has been pretty clear, no such religious programs and operation can happen outside the building. All religious functions have to be contained within it, all throughout the year. With that, and given the noise complaints that we have received, first of all, the plan has to reflect these changes. At a minimum, on the first floor, all the windows should be fixed, inoperable windows, and all of these windows shall have at least a minimum 28 dBA noise attenuation, and an alternate means of ventilation must be provided for this first floor gathering. And again, going back to it, depending on your what you mean by membership, the capacity, the PA capacity that you're proposing needs to match. I'm not sure if membership is being reflected in the way we think it is. Membership typically means one family or so. So you need to clarify that. And I think that may affect your size of the space. And, you're before us. And if you think programmatically, you would need a little bit bigger congregation space based on your membership, how you are calculating membership, then think about it. Instead of fence along the side lot lines, it should be a wall designed with sound attenuation features. There are sound attenuation walls that are available. Those should be provided up to a height of 8 foot. And I would like the applicant to provide a sample of such walls. If you need, we can give you some samples of projects from various projects that we have seen. The 8 foot high wall should wrap around this, not only along the side and the rear lot line, but also up to the basement. Because I think a lot of the reason why the community is complaining is there was gathering happening along the side and people are going in and out of the basement also. So that needs to be provided. The other part is that the applicant needs to indicate if there is any simultaneous use of all of these spaces. That needs to be clarified. I didn't see that in the document. The applicant also needs to add a note to the plan that there shall be no sound amplification device placed on the roof or outside the building. And for the remaining portion of the front yards along Commonwealth and the street, applicant needs to provide a 6 foot high residential quality fence along the front yards to contain the congregants to the site. Also on the plan, indicate if there would be any outdoor light sources. The community board's opposition letter also had concerns about the parking and traffic congestion. Again, a lot of this can be responded to based on the kind of special events that are happening, when they're happening, the duration of those, that would help clarify that. I would though say that parking requirement is waived pursuant to zoning resolution 2533 if below a minimum number. In this case, the applicant is proposing based on the membership number that they have indicated, the proposed development would screen out of the required number because it's less than the minimum. However, again, as I said, if the membership number includes members of the family, include all of that, and that number would have to get reflected. The statement of fact should state in describing the proposed development, and the statement of fact should state it in its when discussing why it's screens out, and should address the the parking concern that has been raised by the community. Don't have any issues with the finding D. With regards to finding E, now in comparing with other houses of worship, the proposed need and the ask is minimal. However, the applicant must respond to the concerns that's been raised by the community and clarify the programmatic need. And we are going to ask for a lot of changes and modifications to the plan that would ensure that would at least, I hope, if built accordingly, would address many of the concerns that we are hearing. But that also means the applicant will provide further bless you.
Thank you.
Needs to provide further clarification on the programmatic need. So those are my questions and comments. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I too would like to know more information about this religion and the way in which it's practiced, as well as the programmatic needs specific to this site. But most importantly, at this point in time, I think the views of the neighbors in terms of their fear that this is going to negatively affect the character of their neighborhood could be addressed by the applicant simply by using some of the suggestions that the board has given, for instance, that the windows should be non-operable with the alternate source of ventilation, and the windows should have an STC rating of 28, as you said. But also, in addition to that and the 8-foot high sound attenuation wall, I think in order to address the neighbor's view of the design of the building could be softened by placing landscaping on those sidelines to give it more of a residential appearance, being that they are in a low-density residential neighborhood. And this building looks very institutional. And I always think that landscaping is a way to soften that and might make the neighbors less angry at the design. And that's all I have for this.
Thank you. Commissioner Shetty.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to be repetitive, but the only thing I would add is the regarding the inconsistency in the floor areas between the zoning analysis, the drawings, and the statement of facts. It sounds like the drawings and the zoning analysis are consistent. The statement of facts is off a little bit. It's not too much. There is also a typo in the statement of facts on page 3, where it describes the as of right. It says on the 3rd floor. The as of right is only 2 stories. It's not 3. So please fix that. Other than that, I believe that the ask is minimal, is very modest. Regarding the membership, as I'm aware of, I believe membership means a member, a person, but they can clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it refers to the membership of the assembly of the place.
Yeah, it varies.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we need a clarification
Yeah.
because that's a head count we need to have to understand how the space is going, as being proposed to be designed can accommodate 65 total or 65 times some number.
I'm not sure if they provided the programmatic needs based on the needs today or they projected it for the future.
Projected is 65.
Okay,
That's why they're requesting this new building.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner Yoon.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions. First is that the community board report that we got includes the presentation material, and this is what I found was presented to the community board. And I just wanted to understand, because this is what we've received as the most revised set of plans, and it obviously looks quite different. And I don't know if the community board has seen the most current version of the design. Just want to make sure that everyone's looking at the same thing. So if the applicant hasn't already, if they could share the most updated set of plans. I had a question about what a privacy shield window is. I mean, this is going along with the conversation that we'd like them to be inoperable and to have an STC rating of a minimum of 28. So this can also just be clarified in further submission. Let's see, I had a question about,
Oh, I see privacy.
I don't know what that
Okay.
means. I don't know what privacy shield.
Most likely it's the type of the glass that you can
That you can't look in.
see through, yeah.
It's, yeah.
Okay, well, that could be, I guess, further expanded upon and responded to your recommendations that they again, make it inoperable, because all of the elevations show, or they indicate that the windows would be operable. This is what these dash lines indicate.
Yeah, I think my concern is with the windows that are on the ground floor, because that's where the main sanctuary is. And that I also need clarification what's happening on the floors above. Will there be gathering there, or would it be more of a where the clergies will be holding small seminars without any music? So those clarifications needed. But right now, way it is shown, and as I understand these temples to be, congregants generally just go to the ground floor. And that's where the prayer is held. And that's where the music is coming from, all the loud noise and other things that the community is concerning about. That's my understanding, but the applicant should clarify that and be very mindful of the community ask and respond in a very objective manner in this case.
I also had a question about the basement stairs and what the expected use or egress, ingress, or is everyone coming in, going from the front entrance? Just what the expected kind of in and out is of the building. The domes, this is just because I don't actually know the answer to this, but are these considered permitted obstructions in the back of above the first floor?
And I don't know if she has an answer for that, or
let Commissioner.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
Please. Thank you.
Let's see. I think those were the only questions I had. It's a fairly small proposal. I just had a couple of small.
That's a good question. I kind of assume that it would be in a similar way that when a mosque proposes a dome, it is considered a permitted obstruction, but the applicant should clarify that.
I had nothing further.
I think, what do they call it? Stupa or something like that. Yeah? That structure. If you look at the Shikara. Yeah, Shikara.
And its footprint, their footprint is not a used space. It's just
an empty void.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I think, Madam Chair, we refer to like a minuet.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Mr. Costanza.
I'm sorry, there's a truck outside. I apologize. I believe in past, it could be under minuet or something.
A minaret?
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are windows facing out to this second floor terrace, and so these should also be inoperable, or if they need to be operable for maintenance, that they are somehow restricted from somebody climbing out onto the terrace.
Yeah, so a note should be added that the rooftops for not only that level, but also above the second floor shall not be accessible to congregants, only for maintenance and emergency purposes.
They do have those notes.
And that should be reflected on the lower floor also.
All right, I'll stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or
I think
comments?
Jello wants to say something.
Yes, Ms. Penga?
Hi. I just wanted to say that for the timeline of why the plans look different to what was presented at the community board, they came in with the plans that looked like that, like at their initial filing in July of 2023. And then they went to the community board. It looks like they went on October 16th, and that's why the plans look like that. When they revised their project and sent it in response to notice of comments, and I guess in response to perhaps the community board meeting, since it was revised after the community board meeting, I think that's why they revised their project. So that's why it looks different today in front of the board. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, thank you for the clarification. I would strongly suggest that the applicant going forward, any changes that are being made to the plans is shared with the community board. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the next case.
Item number 28, 2023, 58 BC, 19718 Hillside Avenue, Queens.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and hearing notice. I don't think we have received a community board approval on this. This is a special permit application pursuant to zoning resolution section 73-243 to permit an accessory drive-through for an eating and drinking establishment, use group 6 at the subject site. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing retail building and build a one-story eating and drinking establishment for Starbucks with accessory drive-through. So based on the plan, the proposed building will replace the existing building. Now, the statement of fact is a little bit confusing. It says new building to be developed on approximately the same floor plate as the existing building. So I will just clarify it. I'm assuming you're saying that more or less on the same building footprint, you're going to build it, but it's not exact. It's not one for one. So just say demolish, you're going to build a new building in the approximate location. Applicant needs to provide photos of the interior lot condition and indicate on the plan the depth and length of the site that is not within the C12 overlay. So looking through the findings of 72-243, finding A, revise the statement in the statement of fact for finding A. It states 21 reservoir spaces are proposed. In the drive-through lane, as shown in the plan, 14 reservoir spaces are proposed. Additional 7 accessory parking spaces is for the proposed eating and drinking facility because it also has sit-down area. So please revise the statement of fact. Also need to revise the statement of statement for finding B regarding reservoir space. The statement regarding this finding B says, quote, no change to the current ingress or egress. That is not sufficient, as the current placement of the accessway is based on the existing building. Its placement, its demand and supply and existing use is different from what is being proposed. So you need to discuss how, even if you're retaining the existing, how it is going to serve the proposed use and how it will not have an impact. And what are the things that typically the board looks for when we are looking for this finding to meet the finding B. The statement needs to provide during peak, what is the estimated number of vehicles that will be in the queue, and is the proposed number of reservoir space adequate to handle that demand. Need to describe the flow of traffic to and from the site and within it. That will result and need to describe whether that would result in any traffic, will affect any traffic movement on hillside. What is the proposed width of the curb cut? Because it is not at the same location from what I can eyeball. Is the westernmost curb cut to enter the drive-through lane and also to access the accessory parking and parking and also for exiting? Will the drive-through affect the pedestrian flow on the sidewalk and within the site? Need to respond how the proposed placement of the facility and its accessway will have minimal conflict with the immediate traffic flow. And is Hillside Avenue a major street? You need to state that. Will the drive-through attract more motorists already in the network, like passerbys versus new traffic? The information from the traffic analysis that has been submitted should be used to address finding B. Now, two no left turn or right turn only signs would be needed to be posted along the exit points from the drive-through and from the accessory parking area. Also need to paint a stop line by both exit ways. Is there a divider between the drive-through lane and the pedestrian walkway from the ADA parking space to the building? There should be, and also in the front area where there is provision for outdoor seating. While the visibility of the vehicles, and the other question I have is, will the visibility of vehicles that are exiting the drive-through be impeded by the proposed pylon sign along Hillside Avenue? So with regards to finding C, 1 per 300 square foot accessory parking spaces required for use group C, PRCB. 6 spaces would be required, 7 is proposed. including an ADA parking spaces. Please explain that in the statement of findings. With regards to finding D, the frontage of Hillside Avenue from 197th and 198th Street is predominantly occupied by commercial storefronts. I would like the applicant to clarify what is the length of the commercial overlay along Hillside Avenue, and that should be stated in the statement of fact. With regards to finding E, the site is surrounded by residential homes along the side and the rear lot lines. There are 2 multifamily homes located along eastern side lot lines and 1 and 2 family homes abutting the western side lot lines and rear lot lines. So applicant needs to revise the statement of fact. The statement of fact was very generic and was non-specific. 6-foot high opaque fence is proposed along the property line. Applicant needs to provide I think the 6-foot high opaque fence may not be adequate given the proximity of the homes to these lot lines, and it may have to be higher, and it needs to be of a material that provides noise attenuation. Applicant needs to provide sound propagation graphics from the AVC system. If the applicant needs some sample, our project manager will provide that. I think the distance from the proposed AVC and the nearest home is less than probably 30 feet.
Yeah.
So we also need to, the specs for the type of opaque fence that is being proposed. And the as I mentioned, the fence needs to have attenuation, and that needs to be stated and indicated. Applicant also needs to provide a lumen plan. With regards to finding F, what is the distance of the nearest home to the drive-through to the AVC system? As I mentioned, I think it's very close to the AVC system. Planting proposed along the lot line is inadequate. It needs to be denser and taller plants. Provide landscaping planting detail with curb. These must be in-ground planting. We can again provide a sample. Our project manager can provide a sample. Would strongly suggest that applicant increase the depth of the planting bed to 4 feet along the residential lot lines, and this would allow for denser planting. So those are my initial comments based on the submission made. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So when you look at this site plan, what comes to mind is, why is so much of the activity being pushed close to that multifamily home that's just about on the lot line? When you've got a lot of space that you can play around with, you've got a 33.5-foot drive aisle to the parking lot, not even including the reservoir lane. And I don't think you need that kind of two-way access to get to the parking spots in the back. But what it does do is it shifts the whole reservoir lane right up against the lot line next to the multifamily home. And I don't think that's fair to them. It also does not provide for a drive-by lane for people who want to abandon the wait if there is too long a wait, because it's only that single lane that goes up to the operating window. So that's my first comment about this. I think that building needs to be shifted over to provide at least one of those pass-by lanes. There's also no discussion of what happens if your food isn't ready. There's no space for you to even pull over. So having at least a pass-by lane, you might be able to put one of those extra parking spaces where you could wait to get your food without having to go back out into hillside traffic and then circle back around and wait in the parking lot. I agree with you that the landscaping needs to be far more robust. It's just pictured as shrubs and it's stated as shrubs, and that's just not going to be enough given how much we know about how Starbucks are a draw for everybody, and it's usually loaded with customers basically from early morning at least through late afternoon. There's no real discussion about the trash pickup, and all I see on the site is that there is a trash room within the building, but is there going to be a truck that comes directly into the back that takes the trash from the trash room, or is the trash room then going to be emptied into a dumpster I don't see any kind of enclosure on the outside. So I think they should address the operational situation with the trash collection and pickup. Let's see, let me go to my notes and see if yeah, that sums up my comments.
Thank you. Thank you for picking up all of the other things I missed. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I do believe that the statement is kind of like obsolete. Sounds like there are some updates done to the drawings / the other documents, and the statement remained as is, because the statement refers to 6 parking spots, and you look at the drawings,
It's
7 and so on. So many inconsistency between the statement and the other documents that need to be relooked at. There are some retaining walls on the site. However, I couldn't see what is the height of these retaining walls. They need to put the heights / grade elevations on the sectional views. They need to put the call outs for the sections on the plan, section AA and BB. Regarding the the plans and the studies presented, I couldn't. I will share my screen. I believe it's much better to look at a picture. So this is the menu board here, and if you look at this distance here, this is about 18 feet. I'm not sure if this is clear. This is 18 feet. It's about this. They are the same. So it sounds like this distance is about 18 feet, less than 20 feet, I would say. So it's kind of like really tight. So they need to tell us what. I haven't seen in the statement that they are talking about an AVC system that will be in place. So I'm not sure what kind of menu board, but even if it's an AVC, still this distance is very tight. So they need to do some noise analysis and give us what kind of sound attenuation they would provide if necessary. So run the analysis, see the outcome, and if you need to do some attenuation, and I do believe that, I strongly believe that you would need. So give us what kind of attenuation you're suggesting. Regarding the no left turn sign, if you look at this sign here, it says "Thank you, exit only." If I'm coming this way, I know that I'm exiting. I don't need anybody to tell me that this is an exit.
That's a nice customer thing, but more importantly, we need the safety note that says you cannot make a left turn.
I understand you, but change the exit only sign to no left turn. So yes, being nice to people is a good thing.
I have a question. Where did you see the retaining wall?
I go to the
In the
sections.
rear, I saw.
Yeah.
There's a note right there too, proposed retaining wall around, if you scroll up a little bit.
I missed it.
The comments from Commissioner Brown, I even went further. I understand that the existing building, the layout for it's not kind of like the customary building for Starbucks, the rectangular shaped building. It's kind of like not right angled, not cornered building. So yes, I understand why they're knocking down the existing one and they building a new one. But isn't it better for the site to flip the site plan? If you look at the street view, on the other side, it's commercial building and it's like a plain wall all the way. So instead of pushing the drive-through lane all the way to, it didn't change, sorry. Yeah, here, this side here. It's
Can't see it. Here we go.
it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this wall is a plain wall. So if you put the building, the drive-through, you put whatever against this wall, it's a no-brainer. Probably you're gonna save on landscaping, you're gonna save again on the sound attenuation a lot. So think of that. If it's doable, just do it. I'm not sure about that.
So you're saying reverse it. The person enters where now the exit is and comes around and exits.
Not the site plan, I would say, yes. So let me,
I,
Actually never seen
I-
Starbucks. that
yeah,
goes
I think
coffee.
you're going to create, this is going, I can't speak for DOT, but I would say that's going to create an additional traffic backup because you're double counting.
yes, it's like a closed loop,
And,
yes.
and I,
That's my concern, yes, but I'm not sure if it works. If we can work it out with DOT, I believe it's much better for them orientation wise on the site plan.
I think that's why they're always counterclockwise, so
Yes.
that they don't loop through their own
right, they don't
traffic.
loop through their own traffic, exactly. Actually, yeah, I would like Commissioner Otley Brown, while we have this, to also discuss what you were saying. And then, first, I'll let Commissioner Sheta say, and then Commissioner Otley Brown, you can kind of give us a cue. No, we're seeing your notes, Commissioner Sheta.
Sorry, I always do that. Yeah, so, I do believe that they need to rethink the site plan. They need to provide information on the lighting, on the noise, give us diagrams. I'm okay with the landscaping, but not with the fence. I do agree that 6 feet is not tall enough. Probably with that, with the noise component, and I believe it's gonna need to be taller than that.
Commissioner Otley Brown, please keep the plan up.
Sure.
Commissioner Otley Brown, what was your recommendation in terms of flipping the building?
Oh, instead of flipping the building, just moving the building off of the multifamily lot line more towards the center of the lot to
Ah.
provide an extra
Drive
lane.
by. Okay.
Yeah, that could be like a pass by lane or you order too much food.
So
sit on
it's
the
again,
side
one
lane.
way in and two, so it's a loop of two lanes, one going through the drive-through, another going into the accessory, and another 2 lanes coming out, one going through. The only thing
Well-
would be a switch.
You could then lessen you might be able to lessen the width of the curb cut where you would shift the curb cut a little bit
Closer
towards
to
the
just
top
where
of
the
the
drive,
drawing.
yeah.
Yeah, because your little drive aisle that goes to the
Yeah.
parking spots would be narrower, so you don't have to have that curb cut kind of straddling both.
Okay. Okay, I think it's difficult for us. We're not going to
Right.
plan this out, but these are just suggestions and the applicant needs to look through that and I indicate the viability and how it there is an overall concern about how right now it's operating.
Right, I mean, they may say then they would have less reservoir spots because the loop is narrower, but they may lose 2 reservoir spots, so they're still above the 10 minimum.
Well, and this is an unusual, here they're proposing a seating area inside and outside. So, that's the operational, so that can also, maybe it might be too much for this site. So if the building footprint reduces, then that may also address some of the other issues. Sorry, Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. If you, can you zoom in on,
Oops, sorry.
please,
I'll share it again.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think the plan is helpful in.
P102 shows the distance between the menu board and the lot line, which is
Sure.
about
16
16 feet?
second, yeah.
About, it's less than two.
No, the next one. Sorry.
The next plan,
Yeah. So here you'll see the string dimension, 3 foot planter, 12 foot 11 drive aisle, and then that basically gets you to the menu board. Oh, do you see where over car number 8?
Yeah, okay,
this,
Yes.
so 12,
12, 11.
It's about
plus
15.
3, It's about
Yeah.
16 feet.
15
Yeah.
feet, yeah.
So
And the home next to it is it's like based on a side yard, which is about 8 foot. It doesn't really, not very far away.
the only thing I was gonna say is we don't need the planted buffer between the parking and the residential
Good,
spaces.
yes.
So in addition to moving the building page up and the drive aisle page up and increasing the width of the planting bed that's at the bottom of the page here, we can
Mhm.
also do it on the backside and just push it all further away from that lot line, because we don't need we don't even, I mean, in my opinion, we don't even need the landscaping at the top of the page because that's along this commercial single
Yeah,
story property. So you can just move everything and kind of bank it towards
Where the
away from the
residential-
residential
yeah.
and just, I mean, that's the main concern. I'm not gonna repeat all the other comments. I had a lot of similar comments, but that was, I just wanted to add that as part of the thought process when you're relaying out the site.
I agree. I think especially those planting along the commercial property, they're probably not even going to make it. Given that it's not going to, it would be difficult to plant. So start where the commercial property ends and try to provide a denser planting. And instead of having that buffer between, you can provide a railing to provide a physical barrier between where the parking is and where the drive-through is. And it could be just a 2-foot kind of a raised platform if you want to be very careful so that one doesn't run over the other by chance for you to put your menu board because you need that space and that can be, yeah, okay. There are solutions. So let's look through those. So thank you. Thank you
And
for,
fix that. This is the typo 2.
yeah.
6
yeah.
cars, it's 7, not 6.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, commissioners, for your very thorough review of this application. Let's move on to the next case.
Sorry. Item number 29, 2023, 74BZ, 1871 54th Street, Brooklyn.
Thank you. We received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. Don't have a community board sign off on this, but we did receive 4 letters of objection regarding quality of life, parking congestion, increased noise level, and 1 letter of support. This is an application for a waiver of bulk regulation. Sorry. Bulk regulations pursuant to zoning resolution section 72-21 to develop a single-family detached home at the subject site. The applicant is seeking a waiver of required side yard and required open area between residential buildings. So just again, the minimum lot area for 1 and 2 family detached or 0 lot line building is for this zoning district is 3,800 square foot with a 40-foot width. The zoning lot area and the width is less than the minimum required, and the side yard reduction pursuant to zoning resolution 23-48 requires a minimum side yard width of 5. So please, I'm not sure if the applicant is applying that in its analysis. That's why I just stated that. So while the zoning lot meets the required 23-33, the special provision for development of existing small zoning lot to develop a single family home, even though the site lacks the minimum lot area, the site lacks the minimum lot area and lot width requirement. I don't know if a waiver for that DOB objection is needed. I'm not clear, but I just kind of wanted to state that. So the applicant is proposing a new construction, a 3-story plus cellar, 1 family detached home. The site is not in a flood zone and is proposing 2 side yards, one 1 foot wide and another 1 2 foot wide, and would maintain a total of 5 foot and a 4 foot wide open area between the new residential the residential homes abutting it. So with regards to uniqueness, it meets finding A. It is a narrow site, 22 foot wide, and zoning requires 30 foot wide lot for detached and semi-detached homes. And the applicant provided a pretty thorough uniqueness study, and I'm satisfied with the satisfied with A finding. With this financial analysis not required. So moving on to finding C. Side yard study has been provided. Almost all detached and semi-detached homes have non-complying side yards. Only the attached homes comply with the yard requirement. Overall, the homes in the study area have narrow side yards ranging in width from 0 foot to 5 foot. I though would like the applicant, they have the information, so it's just more of presenting it in a slightly different format. I would like the applicant as a consultant to provide this analysis. Can the side yard map highlight the detached and the zero lot line homes to show how many of such homes have side yards and the width of these yards? Applicant needs to provide a chain of ownership of the subject side and its abutting side. That's regarding finding D. With regards to the minimal, the neighborhood is predominantly residential. Most of the residential homes were pre-61, mostly built in 1920s. And these homes benefited from zoning regulations that were less restrictive compared to current zoning regulations. So combination of the narrow width that is and that the site is vacant, a new development would be required to provide 2 side yards of 5 foot wide side yards each, and this would result in a floor plate width that would be inadequate, and this is a very minimal ask based on that. Apart from the questions and clarifications that I've asked, I think this is a pretty minimal and request. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Yeah,
I just want to, before Commissioner Otley Brown speaks, I just want to remind the public that this is still a review session. So when we have the public hearing, you can raise your hands and stuff. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Sorry. Thank you.
I had the same question about finding D, because they only gave us a deed analysis of the subject block and lot, but not the 2 adjacent. So they need to redo that to give us the information for, I believe, lots 52 and lot 54, as well as the subject lot 53. And my only additional question for the minimum variance, if they can give us the average building width on 22 foot wide lots in the radius, would let us know if just 19 feet in width is what basically everybody else on that lot is getting, or whether it's too much of a gift to them to have 19 feet of width.
Okay, so you want the average building width of the existing home?
And they have that information on their yard, their map that shows all of the side yards. They just have to do the math and give us an average, basically.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. The only comment I have is regarding finding either minimum variance, and I do agree with Commissioner Brown. I actually didn't like raise it the way she did, but yes, if they can provide us with an average home width, I got the feeling that 19 feet wide house is kind of like probably generous as it compares to others in the neighborhood. So if they justify that through like a statistical analysis for what's existing, I'm fine with it. If they do not, I mean, I would suggest that they modify the width and they come back ready for the next hearing.
I'm just going to look at the neighborhood study very quickly to refresh my I'm sorry, I'm looking at the neighborhood character study that's been submitted. Give me
This is I'm sharing
oh, you're sharing it?
the side yard study, but if you're looking for something else.
No, I think you're much faster than I am.
Had it up.
I'm just curious, what's the width of these attached homes? I think if I look at the tax map, that'll give me an idea.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up.
That's why I asked them to to give us that information, because it requires you looking at both documents and then getting an average.
So the detached homes that are in the mid block, the tax lots are width is 22. These are a typical 22 foot wide tax lots. And on the other side on the same block, but fronting 53rd Street, those tax lots are 21 foot. So if you compare that to the yards, 21, yeah, 4, 6, 5. So 22 minus 5. Yeah, okay. And these attached homes, I think they're just built to the lot lines. I don't have the tax maps for those. I think the radius map might be helpful in that. We'll be able to give the dimensions of. Yeah, these are like 19 foot. 18.5. So, yeah, okay. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I didn't have any comments.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that it's a slight difference between the floor area in the statement and the drawings, just 2 square feet, but if they can fix it. It's 2753 in the statement square feet versus 2755 on the drawings.
Okay. Thank you. So if there are no comments, I would, I think we have come to the end of the items, review session calendar. We are at 11:25 mark, so let's review, meet at 11:40.
11:40? Okay.
11:40.
Excuse me? 11:30?
11:40.
40. Okay, sorry, my hearing.
15 minutes, 15 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Because I just want to make sure all the community representatives, and the applicants, they have enough time to hear our comments and gather. So just give me
Yeah.
15 minutes.
So this concludes the review session for April 16th. We'll resume at 11:40 with public hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks. We didn't send it to DOT. Get an eraser. Okay.
fashion.
Yeah, that.
The place where we're about to proceed.
Yeah. Ugh.
Sorry, my video sometimes, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, Ms. Matias, we are live. We are streaming. You may proceed with the public hearing.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for April 16, 2024. We will begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 23, 2017-269 BZ 65 Grasmere Avenue, Staten Island.
Hey,
This is
it should be Mr. Dale.
Mr. Busanelli and Mr. Dale, but I see neither in the room.
Yeah, well, there really is not for them to say either because we're waiting for,
Madam Chair, I can't hear you unless it's me. Well,
I'm sorry. There really is not much.
okay,
for-
Mr. Dale is in the room.
Oh, the applicant is in the room? Oh, there it is, Mr. Dale.
Yeah. Dale is in the room.
Okay, all right. Yes, I've admitted him into the panel. Mr. Dale, is there anyone else joining you? Just want to make sure he has been admitted. Yeah, he should be in the.
Sorry, it took a while for it to load me in.
Yeah, is anyone with you, Mr. Dale?
No, there's not.
Okay, let's raise your hand and then we'll swear you in and then you can just respond. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond only to the board member questions?
I do affirm.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments.
Hi, good morning. Todd Dale for the applicant. I did listen to review session. I believe the only thing outstanding is the review of the air quality information that was submitted. I think we have on our record was actually submitted the end of 2023. So we're just waiting on those responses.
Okay, yeah. And so, yeah, that's the only thing. And since the question of the neighborhood character was also tied to that, that is one of the reasons why we are not able to close it. We want to make sure the finding related to the neighborhood character has been responded to based on that analysis. So,
Understood, and we can be patient with DEP. Hopefully they get back to us soon.
okay, all right. Any questions or comments? Let's go to the public then.
The case we are currently discussing is 2017-269 BZ 65 Grasmere Avenue, Staten Island. Should you wish to comment, please dial 646-518-9805 or a toll-free number, which is 888-475-4499. You will enter the webinar ID number 834-5192-3058 and press the pound sign. Why am I getting feedback? At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. When you're permitted in, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, raise your Zoom hand to the little hand at the bottom of your screen. We'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay. I don't see anybody raising their hands for this particular case.
We have 1 minute. Waiting for the timer, sorry.
Mr. Dale, while we are waiting for the clock to run out, since quite a bit of time has gone by, I just want to make sure when we do have the the remaining sign off of, please make sure that all the, sorry, I have a frog in my throat. Please make sure that all the information is still accurate in terms of the ownership, the operator, and the practice, the hours of operations. Just because there's been so much of time lapse on it.
Understood. I can state that the operator and owner have not changed. Nothing's changed with respect to that, and there's no expectation to the change. They've been there a long time and they want to continue to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we will schedule it. I think this time it would be best we schedule it as when we know we will get all the sign offs. Hopefully that'll be soon.
Okay, understood. We can be flexible.
Okay.
At the board's discretion.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is item number
Thank you.
24, 2023-26 BZ, 3002 Farragut Road, Brooklyn. This application's adjourned.
Okay.
Okay, item number 25, 23, 25, 35 BZ, 11-17 Bay Park Place, Queens. Why
That
did we
would
get
be Mr.
Goldstein?
Goldstein. I'm gonna, yes. Is there anyone else from your team, Mr. Goldstein, who will be joining in? I just changed him again.
Second,
He should be in. Is there anyone else from your team?
just me.
Okay.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board? And to respond to any simple board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
For good afternoon, good morning still. Jay Goldstein for the applicant. We heard the review session with regards to the 6-foot fence along lot 34. It actually exists. It's just missing the note, so we'll put the note there. If you look at the photos we submitted, you can see the opaque fence is already there. And with regard to the walkway and the path to make sure that the students stay away from the residential neighbors, if you look at sheet P002 rather, the plot plan, we actually show a walkway from the dormitory building to the school building with that in mind. Additionally, you'll see that we have the fence which is there. We're proposing planting along the entirety of the parking so that the students will not be able to cut through the parking to get to the school. So we hope that with those measures, and the intent was with those measures, we'd keep the students away from residential and away from impacting any of the neighbors.
Oh, it doesn't say that on the pathway. I can't find where it says that it's fenced.
The pathway is not fenced. The lot
Just
line
wait a
between
second.
lot,
Someone shared the plan. This way we all know we're on what
Right.
we're referring
the
to.
pathway is not fenced. The lot line has the opaque fence. We just didn't have the note. So there is a fence, and there will be a fence between us and lot 34. And we're proposing planting at the rear of our property, at the rear of the parking area, so that the students, our hope is that they take the walkway that is proposed, and that the planting prevents them from walking next to the residential in order to get to the school.
Will it be paved at least?
Which,
That walkway?
yeah, I can add a statement saying paved, but the intention is walkway from the dorm building to the school. We intentionally did it away from the residential, and we gave ourselves some wide berth per the board's comments at the last hearing.
Okay.
Is it paved and everything else what is the proposal for the materials outside of the walkway?
It'll probably be grassed over. It'll be open yard and grassed over.
I guess, yeah, my main point is just, is it distinctive? Is the walkway going to be distinctive from everything else?
Yeah, we'll clean it up to make sure to illustrate that it is.
Okay.
And we'll add the note that the typical fence will be on the lot line as well with 34.
That's this lot line? that, where my cursor is?
Yeah, where the, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong sheet. No, so our lot, that's our lot line between our property and that. There's a fence where the trees go along our parking area. That's lot line 34. And there's a vinyl fence there already, and we'll put a note saying that it's gonna be there.
There is also another little lot. It's kind of a landlocked lot, right?
That's ours. It's part of our property.
Right. And what's happening along that area is also fenced?
I would imagine so. I'm not sure offhand. So I can't speak to it offhand, but I would imagine so. Let me see something actually.
Okay.
But I believe that's part of our property. I believe it's fenced, but I'm not positive. But we can make the changes to the plans to show the fencing.
Okay.
Trying to see if I have anything that shows what's going on there. Sorry.
And is that part of the
It's-
subject application?
It's not, but it's part of, but the, I shouldn't say it's not. Let me just double check if it's part of these calculations. It is part of these it is part of this application. We had both of those lots as part of our calculations. I see that there is a fence behind it. The fence, that vinyl fence follows through if you look at our interior photos, but we can add a note saying that it will be fenced along that rear lot line of lot 34.
So since it is part of the application, do add that into your site plan and indicate the treatment.
No problem. I think we'll continue the treatment as proposed
Yep.
on the other lot lines. Okay, I believe those were all of the board's comments for me. I believe those were all the comments. I don't think I have anything else, did I?
Right. So I think also the planting depth was one of the questions we had, provide the
Oh,
planting.
right. I said I'll keep it consistent throughout. I think you mentioned that there were varying depths.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
It's a question about trash or something? No. maybe not.
No, that was not part of this.
Oh, okay, that's sorry.
The question I had raised, and thank you for reminding me, is the revised plans should be shared with the community board.
Yeah, all of our plans are always, they have a copy of the current plans and they'll have a copy of the proposed plans.
Okay.
And I'm looking at a Google aerial view, and the opaque fence exists behind lot 34. We'll note on our plans that it'll remain and show the treatment for the rest of the site.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Does that respond to our questions or comments? All right, let's then go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2023-35 BZ. 11-17 Bay Park Place, Queens. Wish to discuss, dial 646-518-89805 or a toll-free number, which is 888-475-4499. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 834-5192-3058 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone to be able to speak. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your hand, which is the little hands at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Ms. Benke, is there anything on the review? I think it's a type 2, right?
It's not a type 2, however, we received the final EAS, and as long as the plans don't change, our EAS is complete.
Okay.
I don't think there's any changes to the building, just showing notes, and trees, so it shouldn't impact the EAS, correct? We can amend the updated plans, but all the
Right,
sign.
usually we amend the final plans. That would be the only change.
Right, so we'll amend the final plans, but no changes to the actual EAS besides the plans.
Right.
Okay.
All right, good.
Waiting for the clock.
Just waiting for the clock.
We can have this to you fairly quickly. I don't know, I could probably have it to you by the end of the week. I don't know if the board has availability for May 6th and 7th. I don't know if the board was so inclined to close. That would be amazing.
If I think May 20th is more likely, even though it's I mean, I'm going to recommend closing it.
Okay.
Because and commissioners, if you're okay with that, recommend closing it. But do provide the plans with all the specific.
I just asked when's the submission for May 20th?
May 20th,
April 18th, I'm sorry, May 2nd. Sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay, perfect.
and if you need an extra week, we could do that also.
No, I should be okay. I just Passover starts on Monday, so I'm out, starting then. So I just wanted to make sure, but I should be fine.
Okay. Okay.
Passover ends May 1st, we'll be fine.
Okay. So if you need an extra week, just I'm letting for that
Okay.
reason. Like you could submit a week later.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, the timer is gone and no one has raised their hands or called in for this case.
I'm going to make a motion to close with the record open for all the corrections that we talked about to be reflected. And in your letter, Mr. Goldstein, you're very good at kind of directing the commissioners to where all the changes have been made. Please reflect those. And if those need to be indicated in the statement of facts, do so.
Okay, no problem.
But I'm okay with it. So motion to close then?
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Commissioner Arlie Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
And revising the type.
Yes. Yeah, Bonnie's watching and she's very, very thorough.
Yes, we know that.
That's why we love her.
Yes, we do too.
Okay, move on.
Yes.
New cases, item number 26, 2023-22 BZ 1A Jarvis Court, Queens.
Okay.
Anyone with you, Mr. Goldstein?
No, just me.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to the board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good morning, still. Jay Goldstein for the applicant. We heard the comments at the review session. I wanted to try and go through them one by one, and then we'll respond in writing. First of all, we appreciate the board's comments and the board's review of the application. We will double check the side yard calculations for the as of right and the proposed, and we'll make the changes accordingly to the statement of facts and the plans where appropriate. With regard to the statement of facts for the number of congregants, it's 105 families. It's 148 people praying in the sanctuary, because you'll have parents with children praying in the sanctuary. So we thought it was clear. We can try and clarify that again, but we'll work on that in our submission. We will add articulation to the facade. We note the board's comment and we'll work on that. With regard to the height of the building, so it is 35 feet to the wall height, and then it's governed by sky exposure plane. So we are asking for this 1 foot waiver. And the reason for that is we're proposing 12 feet floor to ceiling, or floor to floor rather. So once you take out the mechanicals and the roof and the ceiling configurations, you really only end up with about 10 feet floor to ceiling, which anything below that for a synagogue, especially where you have this many people, would be extremely, extremely tight. That's why, we tried not to be excessive in our ask, but this was the minimum that we felt was appropriate for the synagogue. 10 feet is already a very small floor to ceiling for a synagogue. So therefore we asked the board to accommodate us on that 1 foot waiver.
It wasn't quite clear in the section.
I can clarify the floor to
Okay.
floor height versus floor to
Thank
ceiling.
you. Yeah, I do think that that's reasonable.
Okay. We can, though, we will look at the bulkhead to see if there is a possibility of somehow reducing the bulkhead at that corner of Jarvis and Beach Ninth to see if we can reduce the impact on the street wall. I'm not sure how, but they'll, I'll put it to them, and if it's feasible, we will accommodate. We actually do show an 8-foot fence at the side yard, rear yard over there. It's a side yard. We have a note on the first sheet saying that's an 8-foot side yard to wrap around, taking into account the neighbors when we designed this, so that we shouldn't have an impact on them. But we can add the note about sound attenuation, the blanket note that we have for, the acoustic fence that we have for our other applications, and we can note that accordingly.
And if you can provide the detail of the fence, I don't want this to be a chain link fence. It really
No.
needs to be residential quality with acoustical.
We
So
have it on page
sometimes,
P1. If you look at page P1 on the plans,
can anybody share the plan?
we have a typical vinyl fence. It's not a chain link fence.
I'm working on it.
Can I suggest instead of a vinyl fence with an like an opaque material that is hung, it'd be more of a permanent structure that not only is opaque but also provides the noise attenuation built into it, because sometimes these other material, they can break, they can, with wind and other things, they can get kind of metal.
That's fine. If the board has a sample of a fence they're happy with, we're happy to comply. I can ask Jella, otherwise we can look for a fence ourselves as well.
Yeah, we look through some of our sample documents that I think that might be, there are some nicely stone designed, like engineered walls that are attenuated and at the same time have the residential look. So
Okay, well, we'll work with staff and we'll
that's-
present, and we'll look for alternatives. We'll update the flood note per Commissioner Shetta's request. We'll also update the northeast windows, so that's not lot line windows. And then we can look into the street tree planting along Jarvis. I don't know how that works, so I'd have to ask the architect to see what can be done or what can be proposed there.
Okay.
Um,
And also I want to make sure that that 8-foot fence is wrapped around not just along the rear portion, but that other little bit of the side yard.
Yeah, so if you look at, again, sheet P1, we do note that it'll be at both frontages. It's not-
Okay.
It's here
Yes,
also. It's
got
on.
it.
Yeah, they're also right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we did take that into account, and we would note. I will note also that, as mentioned, I think, Madam Chair, you'd mentioned maybe trying to pull the building back from Beach Ninth. We have these required egress stairs at that side yard, that 8-foot side yard. So once you have those stairs, plus you need to be able to get out of there, I think trying to move the building back would be somewhat tight. So I'm
I
not sure.
agree. I was just trying to see if there was any other way to do that. But
Right.
I mean, there's a very important question Commissioner Yoon raised from the sanctuary level. How are the means of egress being accommodated?
So we have the two means of egress at the front of the building.
But you're exiting from one door to access, and that is acceptable?
I will double check with the architect, but he designed it, so I'm hoping that it is.
It's usually not. It's just considered one exit, though it's a
Right,
building.
I think once you get to a certain size of the sanctuary space, those rules change a little bit, but I'll double check with him because I am not qualified to answer that question right now.
Sure, okay.
Thanks.
I believe those were the only questions for me on this application.
So the question, well, I think one of the question was regarding clarification of the flood zone. You're proposing a dry flood proofing on the basement, and you
Right.
could propose,
Not a basement.
sorry, not
Just
basement,
ground level.
ground floor, yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're proposing that, trying to build a cellar over here. We're like 3 blocks off of the beach. It's a heavily flood-prone area. So putting a cellar in this building is just asking for trouble. Having the first floor flood treated and the ability to have stone floors that are a little more durable and have a design that's a little more durable avoids a catastrophe in the event of a flood. If
So
we
the elevator, it's going to be hydraulic, or you're going to have the, like, how are you going to ensure that the elevator pit does not get affected?
It's again, one of those questions that's a mechanical question, not for me, but I can ask them.
Just make sure it's designed.
Yeah, they'll design it in accordingly. But that was the intention with this, is that we really can't put anything below grade over here because we'll get flooded out.
So here's a question, like you have a separate elevator and you have a staircase. Is there a way to integrate the stair and the elevator in a way? Like I've seen buildings where you have the elevator in the middle and you have a grand stair that wraps around the elevator. So that may save you a little bit of a space and allow for a gathering area.
So to that point, we actually have the gathering area, because the first floor, as opposed to other synagogues where the first floor is the sanctuary, then you go out into the lobby and then you go out into the street. We actually have the first floor over here as the multi-purpose room where people can gather inside of that space as opposed to walking outside right afterwards. In a regular synagogue, we had a case a few weeks ago or a few months ago where we had this problem. The board asked me if I can reduce the lobby, and we said because the sanctuary is on the ground floor, we couldn't. But in this situation where it's a multi-purpose room, we can utilize that for gatherings, and that's the intent, is to utilize that for gatherings to avoid having people on the street.
Okay. Right, there won't be that much of simultaneous use on Sabbath because people will be coming at a specific time and leaving at a specific time. So there'll be enough time for the entire space to be cleared out for the next gathering to happen.
And those gatherings usually happen by the same people. So you'll have the people in the sanctuary come down to the multi-purpose room and then leave. So they're not going to gather on the street. They'll come down, either go to the, if there's an event, they'll go to the event in the multi-purpose room, or they'll go, to the multi-purpose room to chat for a few minutes, and then everyone will slowly trickle out after prayers.
Okay. Can you clarify that in your statement?
Yeah, we can discuss the use, no problem.
I'm okay with that. Commissioner Yoon, I know you had, is that?
Yeah, no,
That's fine. Okay. But do look into the bulkheads and if that can be designed in a way to further reduce the.
Right. I'm going to ask him. The only thing I can really think of that can work is maybe if we reverse the direction of the stair, you may be able to angle it at the rooftop. We've done that in the past. I don't know if it works, but I can ask them.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad solution. And also
if it works, I'm a lawyer, not an architect. So if it works, no problem.
Yes, I appreciate that clarification. Yes, do ask the architect to see if that's possible. And the facade treatment to give it a little bit more vibrance, and no, it's right now very
you want more articulation on the wall.
More articulation, yeah.
We got it. No problem.
Also along the rear and along the Jarvis.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Goldstein? Let's then go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2322 BZ 1A Jarvis Fort Leach. Should we comment dial 646 518-9805 or 888-475-4499, which is our toll-free number. At the prompt, you will enter webinar ID number 834-5192-3058. Press the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press star to raise your hand. Star 6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Yes. Ms. Matias, your sound is coming out a little bubbly.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know how to fix that, but
It's like comes and goes. It's not consistent, but it comes and
there,
goes.
there is a hand raised. The last 3 numbers is 555.
Yes. Yes. Why did the person go? Yes, please speak.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, hi. You'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Martin from, I am a congregant in the synagogue. Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Do you have
Go
anything?
ahead. You can speak.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you hear me because I'm on delay from the YouTube. I'm sorry.
You can turn the YouTube off and just speak directly.
Okay, I paused it. I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate everything you guys have done so far. This synagogue is a really, really important part of this side of the community. We really don't have much on this side of the community for a few blocks. So a really large portion of the neighborhood makes use of this, and going to be a really beautiful addition to the neighborhood. And on behalf of my family, my kids, my wife, and everybody, they're really excited for it to slowly make its way forward. So I just wanted to tell you that I fully support it, and I really appreciate your help in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for this case? Case 2023-22BZ, 1A Jarvis Court, Queens.
Yeah, I don't see anyone else, and the clock is running.
All right. So should we schedule this for June? Will that be adequate, or would you want this also to be May 20th?
I would love for it to be May 20th, and given that it's a lot of mostly cosmetics work, would it be possible to have a close on this?
I think some of these findings are associated with the neighborhood character minimal, but let me ask the commissioners. Would you be okay to close it and make these corrections as a follow-up? And if not satisfied, we'll have to open it, or we rather just review it and then close it? I think we rather review it and then we will consider closing it. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Okay. The only reason I thought it would maybe save us, if I do a good enough job, save us so that we can potentially start construction in the summer when it's a little lighter on the attendance. That was the only reason to push, but
Sure. And, I think if you submit it by May end, and you always do a very thorough job and in convincing us, so we can then take that to the next hearing date.
okay, I appreciate it.
We had submitted the WRP response as well to DCP, so that's the
okay.
only open review.
So there you go. We need the WRP sign off. Is there anything else that we need sign off on?
No.
We're still waiting for WRP sign off. So I think May 20th is a safe thing, and that way we can have a.
Okay. Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Next item number 27, 2023, 37BZ, 8529 Commonwealth Boulevard, Queens.
Hey, would this be fair?
Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, fair. I just allowed her to join as panelist. Ms. Batan, is there anyone else from your team that needs to join in on this?
Sorry, it was just, there was a delay in joining. Let me just see who else is on. Dilip Nath.
Who?
Dilip
Dilip.
Nath,
Okay.
Manish Savani, Matthew Sloan, Monica Hurtado.
Matthew Sloan and Monica Hurtado.
Manish Savani, do you have that one?
Yes,
Okay.
I think they're just coming in slowly.
Yeah, I just let them in all,
I don't know if the applicant is actually in the room. I can't tell for those two phone numbers.
Okay, I don't see Hurtado yet, Miss Hurtado yet. There we
Okay.
go. Is that it, Miss Baton?
The applicant should be joining. I do not see his information in the list, but I'm happy. I'm going to just be leading the presentation. So we're going to be sworn in.
Okay, well, could everyone put their cameras on and unmute so I can swear you in, please? Thank you. Mr. Sloan, okay, thank you. And who else? That's it. Oh, Mr. Savani. Okay, Manish Savani. Okay. Raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond only to the board member questions?
Yes.
I do. Yes.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Okay. Good afternoon. Faye Baton from Sheldon Loeb LPC for the applicant. We attended this morning's review session, and we appreciate the board's comments and suggestions regarding some outstanding issues. And we do like to note that we understand the community board's concerns, and we are in receipt of some of those objection sheets as well, in addition to some of the comments that were raised at the review session. So we as a team will work closely with the community, and we will address the community concerns in an upcoming submission. Regarding some housekeeping items, we'll make sure that any variation for the lot size and anything differences between the plans and the statement of facts is corrected. Notes will be added that the kitchen won't be catering. Other housekeeping items are easy to address, and we could do that. We'll make sure the next submission includes why in the as of right lot line cellar can't be built for the program, but with our brief conversations prior to this call, it was mainly for cost reasons and excavation, but we will include everything, all that information in a submission. One outstanding comment from the board question really was regarding membership. The 65 is individuals and not families. But I think as the chair noted and all the commissioners noted, many of these comments can be addressed with the explanation of operations and providing the calendar and kind of understanding the operations of the religion. Yep.
I have a question. So
Yes.
is this membership constant throughout all special events, or there is a little surge in congregation on special events?
My understanding that it may change, and it's not all at once. Congregants would come throughout the day depending on the festival, but the applicant is, I don't think the applicant's on right now, so I do want to confirm that in writing and speak with the applicant. I just want to make sure all information is accurate. But we will discuss in a more detailed programmatic needs, the utilization of each room, elaborate on the prior services, the projected daily, weekly number of attendees, including for religious holidays, and when those religious holidays are held, and usually what part of time of day.
Yeah. Is this a Bengali Hindu temple? Okay.
Yes.
So there are some religious holidays that extend more than a day, and there are more typical ones that are like one day of the month kind of thing. So you do need to provide that clarity, and where you have the, like every religion has a very special day. You know, the Christmas, Eid, Yom Kippur, and similarly. So there are some very special days that are held for every religion, and then there are those that are happening on a regular basis, though unlike other religion, it's not happening every time on a Friday or on a Saturday kind of thing. It's happening once a month. So I think that clarity needs to be made in your submission, and providing the calendar that this temple follows. And based on that, what is the typical gatherings you'll get on a weekday, weeknight? Because some of these scheduled events are happening mostly in the evening because the calendar requires it to happen in the evening time. So do provide that information. And because of that, there is also the concern that the community is raising, because during the weeknight, even a week, it's a quiet time. So a lot of the comments that we have raised, it's trying to ensure that while you have the right to observe your religion and practice, you also need to be respectful of your neighborhood. And so that's why we're asking for a lot of these additional design features to ensure your activity is contained within your site, and your noise is contained within your site, your activities are contained within your site, and your congregants really should not be outside your building.
Yes, of course, understandable. And we had a brief conversation between the review session, and all the suggestions are greatly appreciated by the board and will be implemented and shown in the revised plan set. They seem very reasonable requests, and we do want to make sure that the applicant wants to make sure that there are no disruptions to the community, and limit sound, and make sure there's like acoustic mitigation and such. So that will all be provided in the next submission, because we just need to do a little bit more planning, work with the applicant and the architectural team just to make sure that that's laid out correctly. But everything seemed, we discussed as reasonable and doable.
Okay.
Yes. And I think those were the majority of the comments, but there was a long list, and we'll make sure that those are submitted in writing and in the next submission. And regarding the presentation of the plans, Ms. Parenga was correct. The community board was in October, and then the plans were revised after for the response to the notice of comments. So the community board did receive as part of notice, as part of the application referral, but we will continue to copy them on all of our submissions.
And I would say, if you need your congregation main prayer area to be a little bit bigger to accommodate some of those unusual periods of prayer surges, consider that, because this way your gathering area is contained within your site. Your second floor doesn't have to be. Your second floor can still be can be what you have, but maybe your ground floor is a little bit bigger. Just throwing that out there. This way you really try to contain your congregants within the site. And I would say, in your area of gathering, you provide a lobby within your building where there is enough space to gather, so that there isn't the spillover happening onto the front yard. So if that requires some modification to your design, explain that and work through. This is in response to the community concerns, because they're saying there's littering happening, people are gathering outside. It's kind of not a good thing. So this is your opportunity to figure out how to look at the site, look at the layout, and how to address some of these concerns.
And in your next submission, I think there were some questions about the simultaneous use of spaces. So if you could clarify that in your operational plan and in the revised drawings. Also, the use of the kitchen should be clarified. Well,
yeah.
I believe in the statement they said it's not going to be used for commercial catering. It's going to be like for.
Doesn't say anything on the plan.
Yeah, typically these are only when a special event is happening.
Yeah, I mean they already mentioned that in the statement.
Yeah. But you should.
We'll make sure it's on the plans. So, yeah, we'll make sure it's on the plans as well.
Again, the trash enclosure, refrigerated trash, and the amount of, during Durga Puja, 5 days of ceremony, feast is happening. So you need to make sure you contain the trash within the site and refrigerated and the pickup accordingly.
And a lot of the community concerns were regarding the parking or potential congestion. So I think the chair had asked if you could discuss if your site is eligible for the CPC waiver and I don't have the correct.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So based on the membership amount, you're saying the total number of members that would be arriving for typical worship would be 65, including parents, children. But I would call some of these special events are like high holidays for the Bengali Hindu community. And during those times, there are other congregants that may join who are not your part of a regular 65. So you need to kind of factor that in based on what you currently have to see whether that is going to change or not. Once you increase it to 65, is it really including not only those who are your current 19 and those accommodating the growing community? Or will there be another set of increase in few years from now? And I'm just asking you to be mindful. Don't look at just the 2-year growth, because we do look at growth that is a little bit more than that. And if that is what you need for the space, and that helps address a lot of the concerns, do that. With that, also, then look at the parking waiver that is permitted. And there is also another factor which we have applied for other religious institutions, which is there is a waiver provision that is applied through the City Planning Commission, but we typically ask the analysis to be done here to justify how that waiver, if were to be applied, would work and respond to that question. So there are ways to address that. And I think the big part of that particular waiver shows how much of your congregant is coming from the neighborhood.
Yes, the applicant team will look into it.
Yeah.
And clarify when we review the membership.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does the existing building have a CO or a PA permit?
It does not have a CO for the religious use, and it does not require a PA permit. And I believe the proposed building, because it's under a certain amount of congregants, would not require, but we will double check that as well. For the PA permit, obviously, it would require certificate of occupancy.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what I thought, because you're less than the certain minimum threshold for a PA permit. Okay. Would you require a PA permit with the proposed enlargement?
No,
It's still too small?
75 and up is PA,
I see, 75, okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Okay, I think you're right, 75, yeah.
Jella, you took your hand out? Sorry.
Who has
Wanted to
their hand
add
up?
that there is no parking.
Ms. Sprenger,
waiver.
can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Jella.
Hello?
You need to speak a little bit louder.
Can you hear me now better?
Better.
Okay, I just wanted to add that they're not asking for a zoning waiver for parking here, but that CPC waiver exercise is usually done when a parking.
I agree. It is just that there are special occasions where the number of congregants may be more than 65. And if
Okay.
that's the case, then it may require the City Planning Commission waiver. So that's why I'm asking for that clarification. It's really for those very unique, for those one-off special events that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll review as an applicant team.
Okay, yeah. I think I want you to cover all grounds on this, look at the worst case in every possible situation and look through that and see how you're addressing them based on your site plan, designs, and every concern that the community has raised.
We will. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant's team? All right, let's go to the public then.
So the case that we're currently discussing, why am I getting that feedback? The case we're currently discussing is 2023-37BZ 8529 Commonwealth Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-518-9805 or our toll-free number, which is 888-475-4499. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 834-5192-3058 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you are in the Zoom room already and wish to raise your hand, please use the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay, somebody back.
There is one hand.
Naomi Nello Dinko. I'm going to let Naomi join. Yes, Miss.
Hi, how are you guys? So I appreciate you taking the time. My parents actually live across the street, and I grew up in the house directly across the street from the temple. My parents are members of the BCCA, and as well as I am. We grew up in this neighborhood, and I just want to speak. We did, the BCCA did submit a petition of the Belrose community. I believe it was 178 signatures in opposition to the temple. We've attended the other hearings. There's a bunch of people who were on the call before, but I think they had to sign off. The biggest concern is the noise, the pollution that's already taking place. There are videos that are posted on their social media that clearly show that there's over 65 members on these high holidays and gatherings that's already taking place with the supposed number of, believe 19 members. If someone could clarify.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the biggest concern is if they're not following the rules now, they're double parking, they're blocking the only fire hydrant that's in the closest proximity to the building, which is across the street. And we have evidence showing that there are more than 19 people there already. They're meeting outside. They have tents in the backyard. The neighbors who live directly behind have gotten into altercations with some of the members because of the noise, I imagine, and the outdoor events. So I think I speak on behalf of the community as well with all the statements that were written where that's the concern. The concern is it's already impeding the neighborhood life. It's already not, people are not being good neighbors now. And then to increase the size is only going to increase these issues that we're already having.
Okay.
There's also no crosswalk there. That street is very busy as is. DOT did put a traffic light there because there was a high amount of accidents at those intersections to begin with.
Thank you. Next participant. I'm going to take all the comments from the public first, and then I will go back to the applicant's team to respond. So let's first listen to the public participants. Next person is Hartrick. I'm going to allow the person to speak. Hartrick, Lotus.
Yeah. Please state your name and you will have 3 minutes. Can you join us? Might be a little delay.
I thought I did. Hartrick, are you able to join us?
He's in, but he can't, it sounds like he doesn't hear us.
Hmm.
Let's go to the next person while,
There's no other hands raised except for Mr. Nath, who's a member of the team.
He's now muted.
okay.
You
Hartrick,
can-
we heard you briefly. Is there anyone else who wants to speak regarding this particular case?
She's put her hand down. Or not just back again.
Nice.
Hello?
Hartrick is trying to, yeah, we did try to.
You want to promote him? So he can probably.
Okay. All right, so again, let me try to allow Hartrick to speak and then I'll go to Shadhan Dash.
I'm trying to get.
Oh.
Oh, we hear you. Oh, we just heard you.
Hartrick, we heard you.
Hi, I'm. My hand is raised, but
we
I'm
can.
not Lourdes.
Yeah, please.
Lourdes is the president of the association. Lourdes Hartrick. I'm calling from Sri Lanka. I'm listening in from Sri Lanka. I'm one of the neighbors. I live across the street.
Could you
So
state your name for the record, ma'am? I'm sorry.
What is your name?
Nalini Nalo.
Malini.
Nalini, N as in Nancy, ALINI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm sure you're aware of a lot of the complaints already. I just wanted to add one or two comments. These festivals and prayers and religious gatherings are indeed noisy, and you're proposing soundproof windows and a fence, but these festivals and functions involve tablas, drums, cymbals, blowing of the conch shells. It's quite noisy. So my concern is, will those windows suffice in preventing the sounds, especially from the immediate neighbors? And also because their functions sometimes starts very late in the evening, like 11 o'clock at night when people are sleeping. And it's quite disrespectful to have noise at that time. And some of the festivals are very early in the morning also, depending on what pujas they're celebrating. So it's a celebration that involves a lot of music and use of musical instruments. And secondly, the children have a short attention span. Quite often when the festivals and the functions are going on, they're outside playing. Sometimes prior, they used to run up and down the sidewalk at 11 o'clock at night. Then recently it's contained within the yard, but they're playing quite loudly at 11 o'clock in the night. So this is very concerning, upsetting the neighbors very much. I can tell you they're very unhappy. And there have been altercations, especially when they're blocking driveways, and some of the congregants, the male congregants, stand outside smoking and they argue. So these are the concerns I have. I live immediately across the street. I have a firsthand witness to what's going on. They are absolutely lying about the number of congregants. Absolutely, it's untrue, it's misinformation, and it's not right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now I'll go to Shadhan Dash. Shadhan Dash has been allowed to speak. Please go ahead, Mr. Dash.
Mr. Das is part of the applicant team.
Oh, he's part of the applicant team?
He's
Oh.
part of it.
Then he needs to be sworn in if he wants.
Yeah.
Now I see two Shadhan Dashes. No, there's not one.
Okay. Should we lower the hand of Ms. Hartrick?
Yeah, I'll put him as a panelist. Please, Mr. Dash, you need to be sworn in before we can let you speak.
And then we'll go back to Mr. Nath.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Dash? Is there a delay or something that, I don't know.
Mr. Dash, we have let you in as a panelist. Please accept that. While we're waiting for Shadhan Dash to join in, Dilip Nath, Mr. Nath, you had your hands up. Okay, I want to make sure, are there any other, before I move on to the, are there any public, anybody who wants to testify from public? Lourdes Hartrick, your hand is still raised. Is it Nalini who spoke on behalf of Lourdes Hartrick?
I don't know. Lourdes should be on because she's the. I'll take my hand off. I'm not sure that'll help.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
So that completes our public testimony. And if anybody wants to, we have read every testimony that has been submitted, including the petition. If there are any additional information, anybody who wants to speak and has not been able to, you can submit at bsa.nyc.gov, and the board does review every comment. So thank you.
Madam Chair, so someone just raised their hand, Jeff Huvar. Is that one of your team, Ms. Payton? So that may be a public member. Do you want to?
We go to Jeff Huvar, allowed to talk. Jeff Huvar.
Mr. Huvar, please join us.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great,
You're-
great. Since Lourdes was not able to come on the line, I wanted to speak. I'm also part of the Belrose Commonwealth Civic Association. Just wanted to reiterate what you've already heard from the community. As a member of the Belrose Commonwealth Civic Association, I've seen repeatedly members of our community complain about the double parking, the parking in front of fire hydrants, the crowds that vastly exceed the amount of people, 65 people that was stated by the applicant. Just wanted to reiterate, we follow all those things repeated times in our monthly Civic Association meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Mr. Nath, sorry.
All right. So, Mr. Huvar, please lower your hand. Anyone else who wants to speak for this case? If not, let's swear in Mr. Shadhan Dash, and then let's Mr. Dash, please join us as panelist.
Is he listed twice? Because I see him as an attendee and a panelist.
Both of them in. I don't know who is calling in, but I've let both of them in. I see one of the Shadhan Dashes in.
Yeah, he's in, but he's not responding.
Do you need him to speak, Miss?
I think we'll respond in writing.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay. Then, Mr. Nath, please go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank for the commission to listening the case that before you. My name is Dilip Nath. I live in the Queens for over 35 years. A first generation immigrant here, came from Bangladesh as a refugee. And this temple that are proposed to be built is catered primarily a Bangladeshi Hindu, a very small segment of the community that lives here, because we are a very small population, because 7% in Bangladesh, so only few are able to migrate to this country. There is absolutely no Bangladeshi temple in that area, and there are people are moved, bought house and living in that area, and their children has no place to go. Although there are other Hindu temple, but as you can imagine, the food, culture, and the way that we do puja or prayer are quite different. And there are, of course, the community issue concern that I was, at the community board, and I heard many of those issues. I think the temple, as they build a new place, I think those will address many of the issue and concern. And I just wanted to share that I really appreciate, and my two young boy, they are very excited, looking forward to go to this temple so that at least finally they'll have a place where they can pray, and they can, eat the, prasad or food that are very accustomed to. And I just want to thank you again for listening to us.
Okay, so I see. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Shadan Dash, you need to be sworn in before you can speak.
Can you raise your right hand, sir?
Yes.
Oh, feedback.
Please turn off your YouTube. You're getting a double feed. Please turn off the YouTube. Okay.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the whole truth do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Shadan Das. I'm the applicant and the president of this proposed temple. And first of all, I would like to respect the neighbor we have very friendly when we started to propose as a temple this building, and we never faced anything like people blocking their driveway or double park or having gossiping on the street. That's actually not acceptable. But at the same time, we very faithful operation we have done last 2 years, and we respect the neighbors, the way they help us, cooperate us. But the complaint we have, I think this is something intentional. I respect their rights, and we also have a right to practice our religion and complain about the sound, and that's the main reason we are planning to have a soundproof building, and absolutely no events going on the second floor. It will be in the first floor, and then members concerned is a family member. We never have more than 10-15 people, but once or twice a year we have some events. People comes from nowhere, because if they know there is a service going on, they just come to pay their respect for a few minutes and take a vegetable prasad feast we have. So no, and also after 11, there is no proof they can present. We have any activities, any song playing after 11. 9:30, we finish every day. Whatever we have our service. So again, I respect their complaint, and we will try to maintain as your advice, and I promise we will do that and we'll maintain that.
So, Mr. Dash, I am a Bengali myself. So, and I do practice the religion. So I'm quite familiar with the religion and the various events that happen. Durga Puja is very big in Bengali community, and it is a very festive event, but there are side effects of it. And I do agree what you have right now is something out of the capacity of your current operation. And you are proposing something bigger that would accommodate your congregants' need. That I would say, though, this would be your time to really look at how many people, when you have these special Durga Puja events, how many people show up. And if that's your capacity need, design it accordingly. And that way you address the issue that the community is raising. People loitering outside your building should not be accepted. People, the tent structure where people are gathering and hanging out, it is a noise nuisance. So everything that is being suggested is being done in a way where you can have all your congregants within your building without it being a nuisance. I don't think the board here is telling you not to practice. We're finding a situation where you can continue to practice with the fact in mind the community. Yes, it may be for 5 days of the year that Durga Puja happens, it becomes a nuisance, but it leaves enough of a mark for the community to think that this is a continuing event happening every time. So just for that reason, we are asking you to be objective in your assessment and lay out all the programs and design your space according to that. Don't look at just those 15 days. If you need for 15 members, if you're getting a little bit more than that, more than your 65 that you're getting right now, factor that in. This is your time to do that. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And I accept your advice. And one thing I want to assure you that we're never going to have more than 60 or 50 people. Also, we don't have even a space to redesign the building. So this is not something like a big community we are inviting to this. This is like a couple of families, and we just practice our couple of families member inside limited. So it's never going to have more than this people, of course. And like I mentioned it to you earlier, if something happened, even though without my knowledge, if somebody gossiping on the street or making a noise, I will take that seriously and I will maintain that, I promise.
Okay. Commissioner
I
Brown?
also wanted to say, and take the time to create as much of an architectural / landscaping buffer between yourself and your neighbors, so that if you do have an overflow of people, the noise can be contained.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ms. Batan is very familiar with various houses of worships from different denominations that have come before us, and she can give you suggestions of how we handle it and how, I think everything that we're asking is very consistent with a lot of the houses of worship that we see from all various religious groups. So, and I would though suggest that you look at your operational plan and see how you can have volunteers set up during those special events, because it's only for those 5 puja days, right?
Yes.
So look at how your volunteers can ensure that people stay within your property ground, that double parking is not happening. I would also go one step. You coordinate with your local police precinct and figure out how you can accommodate that need, because there are times when the police precinct does consider religious events and things and does look into ways to address the need. I don't know how that works, but we have heard that statement being made by other other religious groups. So look into that, but don't make that a everyday occurrence, but only for those rare moments where you have a large gathering.
Yes.
So this is another way to address the community concern, and it is done in a more systematic, planned way, so everybody knows what is to happen. And I think the noise attenuation that we are asking, you must provide. There is no out on that. And with regards to the window wall treatment, I did say 28 dBA. Maybe it needs to be higher. I will consult our team and see if it needs to be higher, so that absolutely the sounds that come from dhak and dhol and all of that, I know those very well, is kept within your boundaries of the walls.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the applicant's team or from the commissioners? Okay. Ms. Batan, you're going to need some time, but I would say while this application is being worked on, please be very respectful of your neighbors, and and try to observe these in practice now. that way, it is a sign of a good neighbor. Okay, thank you.
Yes, we will.
I think you will need some time to put this application together. I think June maybe.
Manish, is that? Yes.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, June is fine.
Okay.
So the submission for June would be May? Or are you going for July, Madam Chair?
Yeah, so submission for June is May 23rd. Is that adequate, or should we push it out to July? The submission then for July is June 27th.
I think May 23rd would be fine. That gives us enough, about 5 weeks from now.
Okay, so you then June 10th hearing is what you think would be you'll be able to make the submission?
Yep.
Okay. 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 Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, next case, 2023-58BZ, 197-58B, sorry, 2023-58BZ, 197-18 Hillside Avenue, Queens. This is Todd Dale. Okay, anyone with you, Mr. Dale?
Just me today.
Oh, okay.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do affirm.
Okay, please state your name for the record and respond to the board's comments at review session. Excuse me 1 second. Mr. Das, can you remove yourself, please? Turn off.
Oh, I can remove him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he's talking and.
Where is he?
Okay, I don't disconnect, Mr. Das. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Dale. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Nope, that's fine. I decided to wait in the room, make it easier. Todd Dale for the applicant. I did hear the comments at review session. Thank the commissioners for the review. I think there was all, very clear comments. I'll speak to them briefly now, but we'll follow up on a written submission and provide some overall background. The first thing that I would want to clarify sort of as an overarching item is that I don't know if the board saw it, but there was in a initial traffic demand study that was submitted to the record. Stonefield Engineering has been retained by the property owner and the applicant team for this. Stonefield's very familiar with drive-throughs and the requirements the board has set forth before. But just to let the board know as far as the status of that, there was the submission, I believe it was last week, submitted to the record. It was the initial study. Based on the initial study, there's some initial on-site data that needs to be collected. But I just wanted to, keep the board apprised of the fact that this is ongoing. And of course, we'll respond to any comments and address any concerns that might be raised with the Department of Transportation and keep the board apprised of that situation. Related to that, I would agree that the statement of facts in the record is general now. It actually relates to an original plan design that was slightly changed. We will go through and update the statement so that it reflects the proposed plans. And Chair, in particular, you noted some comments and some finding items that you wanted expanded on. We'll expand on them in the statement. A good deal of the statement was tied to what the eventual plans would be and relate to comments that we're going to receive from the Department of Transportation. So they go hand in hand, but we'll definitely update the statement so it reflects, addresses the comments that were raised, but also reflects any feedback that we received from the Department of Transportation. Beyond the statement, I did hear all the comments that were made about the site and the site design. We will definitely review all of those issues and respond either with revisions or an explanation as to why perhaps certain things can or cannot be done, reviewing it with the architect and the team. I'll just briefly, speak to some of them now. We'll get clarification on the building location and the possibility of shifting it closer to the commercial use. I did hear the comments about the planting bed width. I think that we can examine expanding that out, removing that one internal planting strip of the trees that are in between the lane and the parking spaces. taking a look at, possible additional space that could be gained with the planting that's shown currently adjacent to the wall of the commercial building. As you noted, that may not be planting that's very successful at staying alive, and it might allow for some flexibility in the design. We'll look at the left and right turn only signs and any sort of additional signage that's set forth. A couple of just specific things I just want to say. Chair, just in response to one of your questions, the commercial overlay is listed on the plans. It's on sheet P-101 that shows it's a 150-foot commercial overlay. So it's just basically a tiny sliver of the rear corner, which would be to the bottom of the plan sheet, which is to, I believe, the west. There's like a slight portion. No developments proposed in that area, but it is just a little sliver that's not within the commercial district. I just wanted to clarify.
Sorry, in your statement, just indicate what is that percentage of that little triangle is. I think it's just such a tiny area, even though it would have the drive-through, it is unavoidable, and it's a very less than even 10% of your site. So I just kind of want to, I know in the past the board had raised concerns about a portion of the site that is, and this is well within 25 feet of that usual rule of thumb that is applied. So that's why I'm kind of asking you to elaborate on that.
That's fine. We'll ask the architect for a percentage breakdown and include that in response. Not an issue. One thing I just wanted to just point out, just from, I know some initial discussion, but we'll also address it. Chair, you had noted asking about having a stop sign painted, where the exit is. Right now, there's a do not enter that's painted there. And it's my understanding that generally that is considered of greater import to be painted because it's more dangerous to have cars trying to turn in there. But we can review the exit only sign and perhaps post like a stop or a watch for pedestrians as sort of a mounted sign that could run, address the issues you're raising as opposed to replacing that painting sign. But it's my understanding that DOT generally prefers to have the do not enter being the painted sign that's there.
Okay. I mean, and I'm not going to, yes, DOT has the upper hand on this one, on some of these very specific traffic related safety measures. These are my initial suggestions. And yes, I'll defer to DOT on that. I do have a concern about the visibility of a car making that right turn and making sure they're in the clears given the pylon location of the pylon sign. Because it's pretty big and it is low. So I'm not sure to what extent the visibility will be afforded through that. And then there's a lamppost right after that. So all of those put together. So look into that.
We'll definitely look into that. And just, just as a quick aside, I believe that the pylon sign that's currently shown is actually going to be relocated closer to the building, which would help improve some of the visual that you're talking about. Because I believe right now that the prior owner of the site, when they installed that sign, I think a portion of the base of that sign is actually outside the lot line. So it does need to be reshifted to the interior of the lot a little bit. So I think in conjunction with the issue that you're raising, I think that will help, be one aspect of addressing that concern. But definitely we'll review that.
To reflect revised plan, the proposed location of the pylon.
Yes, we will definitely do that. That'll be part of it. I think that there was the only other thing that I just wanted to have one smaller plan item than one bigger plan item. As far as there was discussion, I believe Commissioner Shetty, you raised questions about the retaining wall and the height of the retaining wall. It's my understanding, I'll get clarification from the architect and team, but that note was respect to a proposed retaining wall only if it's necessary when they do regrading of the site. So at this point, I don't know if they know what the dimension of the retaining wall would be because they're not sure if a retaining wall would be necessary. So, I don't want to make it seem we're not going to respond to the question, but we may not be able to respond to the question with respect to the height of the retaining wall because as the note notes, it's just there if required. So I just wanted to flag that for you.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The reason I raised this because it might impact your noise study looking at the property line, how tall is the fence, whether you have noise like crossing the property line to the adjacent property. If there is a retaining wall, it's a different case from a retaining wall is absent. That's why I raised it.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. I'll see if I can get any additional information with respect to that. We'll also, I think it was also noted with respect to the fencing, we'll look at the height and see if we can have a taller fence and make it an acoustic type fence with respect to the noise.
Mr. Dill, I just want to add to that. I would say in that case, if you're not sure, then assume a worst case scenario without a retaining wall and prepare a plan where you would have adequate noise attenuation built into your fence design. And I would say in this case, a PVC fence with an Akusta, those things hanging may not be adequate given the proximity of the homes. It may have to be more of an industrially engineered wall that looks like a wall, but it's a noise attenuated wall.
Sure, understood. We'll make a note of that. I just had one other question too, because or one general comment too, is that with respect to the site review and any possible revisions that can be made. I know Chair Utley Brown raised a question about a possible pass-by lane. We can review that and take a look at that. Initially, I don't think that would be possible. And part of the reason is that there was reference made, the specific findings in the zoning resolution require 10 reservoir spaces, a minimum. And right now, this current plan design shows 14. Just so the board is aware, that 14 is based on initial review and discussion that Stonefield had with DOT, is the number that DOT thinks it will be required for reservoir spaces for this site. So even though the text of the special permit requires 10, DOT's recommendation currently, we believe, is going to be 14. So adding these additional 4 spaces limits what can be done and also sort of sets forth what we can do with respect to the lanes. That said, we'll take a look at it, but I just wanted to flag that for you as an initial response to let you know that the design here is likely to be based on 14 reservoir spaces and not 10 reservoir spaces, which may limit what we can do. But again, we'll respond in writing. We'll give clarification to the board with respect to that issue. Just one other thing too, that just for my education, there was discussion during the menu board. Starbucks, has had other application before the board, and I believe that they use a system with a menu board with respect to noise and volume that's generally been accepted. We'll provide the specifications to the board, but there was discussion about a 30-foot distance. Just to clarify, because I wasn't quite sure during the hearing, is that, the noise study is required when that's within 30 feet of a residential building?
No, I think I was referring to when we have seen the noise propagation from the AC, typically beyond 30 foot, it becomes less of an impact. Anything within less than 30 feet, it's where we notice there is more impact. So that's why I mentioned it. And that's why I was saying that you need a much robust noise attenuation measure, even without the study. That's why I was stating that.
Understood. So no, thank you for that. One of the reasons I ask is that currently where we have the menu board shown is that one of the possibilities is not to say that we don't need attenuation, but if we're able to remove some of the internal trees and perhaps relocate that menu board sign closer to the building and more central to the lot, it may increase the distance between the menu board and the existing residential homes, which is just another, coordination with any fence or wall that's proposed. It might help address that issue.
Yeah, and I think I still think the house next to it will be still close to within 30 feet. I think Commissioner Utley Brown had a couple of other questions. She's an expert on drive-through. So I do take her comments seriously on these matters. I do take her comments seriously on other matters too, but in this one more so, I'm dependent on her. Starbucks does have a lot of these other features where people online and they come and just wait for a pickup and they drive by. So I don't know if that's a program that is going to be applied here, and if so, how that is going to be accommodated. And that's the other reason why also Commissioner Otley Brown was suggesting a drive-by lane, because someone may join the queue and then decide, okay, I've already placed the order. Why am I here? I'll just pick it up. There's a drop-off pickup, and then I'll just kind of leave from it. So there are other ways of pickup and drop-off that is happening. I do not know if this particular franchise is going to adopt those. And if they are, those need to be factored into the design and addressed. And if not, then that needs to be very clear. But going forward, should this be a change of, there be a change of hand, that kind of, given where the trend is, that you just need to be mindful of that.
No, that's an excellent point, and that's something that I will discuss with Starbucks and get clarification on that, because I use that ordering online system, as I'm sure many of us do. So it's good to know how this particular site, if it's part of that program, will do that. So thank you for that. So we'll definitely get that.
Specifically was also thinking about people who just want to bail because it's taking too long, and there's no opportunity to bail once you pass that first parking spot that is next to your drive-through lane. You commit and you're stuck and pulling your hair out of your head because you're frustrated.
Right. It may be that bailout happens when that turn is happening before you get to the menu board. After the fifth car, you kind of bail out and come back out. That could be one way of doing it. And then maybe you allow parallel parking along the drive-through to allow to make up for that parking space. That could be another way of looking at it.
Right. You also have like no space for people to pull over if their order is particularly long and they're holding people up.
Yeah.
So you have no pullover space. So that would require people to get back out into Hillside and get back into your site, which is a lot of stuff going on the street system.
Sure.
Yeah,
No, that all makes sense. And, Starbucks is the expert in this, and we'll definitely, we're going to review this together and get a response back. And, just to be clear, I'm not saying right now, I don't want to make it seem like we're opposed to any of these ideas. I think that they're all well thought out considerations that you set forth, and we'll see what we can address or give clarification as to why it may not be needed here or may not be possible here. So I think those are excellent suggestions.
Would it be a good idea to provide like an exit from the drive-through lane at the location of car 11 to the parking lot? You think that would be a good idea?
That's kind of what I was thinking. Actually, I was taking it more to 14.
To the left.
Even further where the bend happened, 9.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
where that you kind of say, let
Just
me.
make an escape if somebody's like.
Because you're already at the turning point, it would be easier to make a U-turn from there. So you have a way to channel someone out of that system or someone continuing on that
Yeah,
system.
maybe if you put it by 9, you're gonna lose a
But
parking.
anyway, I don't
spot.
want to design it. They have their expert in-house. These are just suggestions and thoughts, and why these are being raised is based on what we are seeing the current operational plan of Starbucks. So if it is going along that same operational trajectory, then please factor these things in.
No, understood. And as I said, we'll definitely include that in a response. It's a coordination of addressing those issues as best we can, while also adhering to requirements or suggestions set forth by the Department of Transportation. So I have a long list, and we'll go over the list and make sure that we respond to that.
Honestly, DOT may not be looking at what the operational trajectory of Starbucks is unless you present it.
Sure.
So
I'll confirm that. I think the only other plan thing is, I said beyond the list, those were the major ones. Also denser planting, but we can also provide a lumen spread diagram with respect to where the proposed lights are and base it on what the specs for those lights are. So that is also on our list. We can add that. I'm going through the list. The only other thing I would just note is just with respect to the community board, as you noticed, notification of filing and hearing was set forth. We did meet with the land use committee of the community board. They had certain questions. We responded to them in writing. Then there was a full board meeting that was scheduled and they didn't have a quorum, and they had to end the meeting early, so we weren't able to do that. I think the full board vote is still pending, but we've been in communication. We also, the community board asked us to notify the neighbors individually of the community board meeting, and we did a separate mailing, you know, on behalf of the community board to the neighborhood residences also to let them know about the meeting. So we've been in contact. We'll continue to respond to them. It was just unfortunate there was a quorum issue, I think, the one time that we attended for the full board vote.
I would say as we are going through it and you're scheduling with the community board results around the same time when you're proposing a revised change or so, do share it with the community board so that they know what is before us also.
Yes, we will keep them apprised of, you know, any plan changes. One thing I would note, because just one last thing with respect to that, is that there was some discussion about the design of the building. And the fact that there was the interior bar seating and the outdoor seating and whether that could potentially change the design of the building. Just so the board's aware, I think original designs of the building didn't include any of the seating. It was later added in based on Starbucks, you know, understanding that that's what the community generally prefers. And actually at the community board meeting, they had requested even more seating than what we're showing. So it was a balance of trying to provide to the community, you know, the seating options that they want, balancing it with, you know, the needs for, you know, drive-through access. So that gives a little history, is that the preference is not to fully eliminate the seating if at all possible, because it's based on Starbucks, you know, history. They know that it's wanted, and based on this community board's comments, it's something that they want. So
I think we had a similar case from another drive-through in another part of this community board, and we did hear a lot of community concern about not providing any area for seating indoor and outdoor. So the fact that you're responding to community concern, that is great. But you also need to factor in the safety measures associated with it.
Sure. Yeah, it's a balance of providing some seating, as you said, balancing with everything else. In any case, you know, I have many notes from the comments were raised in review session. And as I said, it's in coordination with the Department of Transportation review. We'll address all of these in writing. Oh, one more thing that I didn't mention. There was a comment about trash, the operational. We'll include that in our response. There is an internal trash storage area, but we'll get clarification on what the pickup is and the procedure. I forgot that.
Yeah, I think the board was very thorough in its review and raised a lot of comments. So please do go through the recording. And if we forgot to mention anything now, or
Sure.
please do look through that, listen to it again.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Ms. Benke-Tian?
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Dale.
Hi. No, it was me, Tracy. In terms of the DOT submission, we hadn't transferred it yet because we wanted to see how the hearing went. And if there was any design changes that might affect the analysis, would the board be comfortable with us transmitting it now based on the current site plan?
If there's going to be change in the site plan and configuration, especially with drive-through and others, I think it would make sense for DOT to wait, unless DOT was very clear up front that they did not want it. And if you have documents to verify that, Mr. Dale, and that it limits you only to this site plan, that's a different story. Then we can proceed with this plan with whatever modifications that's been considered. Is that reasonable? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the board is agreeable, what I would say is I would want to, after this hearing, is that we're going to have the development team get together and meet and review some of these design changes. You know, I don't want to delay the DOT review process, especially since there's good momentum happening with it. And Stonefield's done, you know, a really good job about turning this around. What I would like to do is I'd like to have our meeting to come up with any, you know, potential design changes we think that would interfere with DOT. And then once that's done, we can confirm with Tracy and say there are no design changes, can you please forward it? Or there is a design change, we'll get it to you, at a certain time so you can expedite the review. So
Yes.
short answer is we'll review and we'll get back to you, Tracy, as soon as possible about any design changes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, I'm at a point where what other agencies have been responsive, I don't want to keep them hanging.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Dale?
Go to the public.
If not, we'll go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2023-58 BZ 197-18 Hillside Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to comment, dial 646-518-9805 or our toll-free number 888, excuse me, 475-4499. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 834-5192-3058 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to comment.
I
don't see it yet.
Raised. Mr. Dale, how long will it take for you to let Ms. Benke know whether we should forward the current drawings to DOT or wait for a revised change?
I would say that I'm going to give a two-part answer to letting Ms. Benke know. I think by the end of the week, we should be able to let you know whether we move forward with this design or not. If we do need changes or we're planning certain changes, I can provide a time frame, and I would say we could probably get those turned around quickly because we have a very motivated team here. So maybe 2 weeks. But as far as like any changes or responding to DOT, I don't know. I guess I'd say we could be flexible towards calendar, but we would prefer to be a little sooner rather than later, just because I know we have a very motivated team that will get things turned around quickly. But it's hard to know until I have this meeting with the team, and it's also hard to know how long DOT might take to respond to those comments. So not to be vague, but unfortunately I'm a bit vague right now.
Well, let's get the first set of balls rolling, which is do we send the plans or not? So you will take 1 week to internally review and then let us know. Based on that, we can forward the information to DOT.
Let's do that. Great.
Okay. And yeah, I think the next hearing, we have to just play it by ear and see how the reviews are going and schedule it accordingly. I think most likely it will be June or July.
Okay.
That's my hunch. Just to see enough progress being made at DOT's end and response to that and how that affects the site plan changes.
So noted. Thank you.
I'll leave it. I will let Ms. Benke and Ms. Ebanks to coordinate with you in setting that date.
Right. And I will get back as soon as possible with both of them.
Yeah, please be in touch with them.
Okay.
Okay, no one has called in and no one has raised their hands.
Nobody has raised their hands. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dale.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next item, final item is item number 29, 2023-74 BZ, 1871 54th Street, Brooklyn.
Okay,
Ms. Landsman? Landesman.
Yeah, I just oh, I thought I did.
Yeah.
Yep. Now
Yeah, she's there. Good afternoon, Ms. Landesman. Is there anyone else in your team?
No, it's just me this afternoon.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Alexia Landisman from Sheldon LaBelle PC on behalf of the applicant. We have attended the review session and would like to address the board's comments. The first comment was with regards to the side yards. Commissioner Otley Brown, you had requested the averages of all of the building widths of the lots with 22 feet of frontage. And so we did that math, and we actually confirmed that the average width of the buildings are 18 feet. I have since spoken with the owner, and we are happy to revise the plans to reflect an 18-foot building instead of a 19-foot building in order to satisfy the board's request and also just to meet that character finding. Additionally, there was a request for a deed chain for the abutting lots. And I just wanted to clarify that the deed chain for the premise was actually sent over with the notice of comments. I just wanted to confirm that that was received on your end.
For the adjoining lots? Because I don't know lot 53.
Yeah, we only saw for lot 53. We did not. So most easiest thing, even more than the deed, is just a chain, a title chart, which just shows the chain of title over a period of time between the subject lot and its immediate abutting lots and the owners. That's the simplest way. Unless it becomes very complicated, I think it makes sense then to look at the deed documents otherwise. But simplest thing would be to provide a chart. If you need a sample, we can provide you a sample.
I've included the chart in the statement for just our lot, so I can add in the abutting lots to the revised notice of a statement of fact, sorry. And then I believe those were the outstanding comments. Because we will be changing the plans to reflect the 18-foot width, we will also revise the statement of facts and the zoning analysis to make sure that the floor area is consistent throughout. And this is in regards to Commissioner Sheta's comment with regards to making that small change.
Your side yard, one of your side yards or would increase, or width would increase.
Right. Yes, so we'll make those changes. And ultimately, those were the only outstanding comments. We have reached out to the community board 3 times to see if they wanted us to come in to present. We have not heard back. And so with that, I think that really there's really no other outstanding comments for this application.
Okay, that's great. Really do appreciate you listening in on our comments and doing that analysis very quickly. Thank you.
We'll actually also submit the side lot study that highlights all of the lots, just so you can have that for your records as well.
Okay, great. Any questions or clarification? All right, then let's go to the public.
So the case we're currently discussing is 2023-74BZ 1871 54th Street, Brooklyn. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-518-9805 or our toll-free number, which is 888-475-4499. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 834-5192-3058 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute to be able to speak if you're calling in on the phone. If you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay. Oh, I see Israel Rose.
Israel Rose.
Yes. Go ahead.
Let me put a timer on him.
Okay, hi. There's questions that I have. I'm his next door neighbor, and this guy is not a guy, he makes it just for money. He doesn't want to build out, oh, I don't have enough place for the family, I want to build out. When this is the case, go ahead. I like it. He wants to have only one thing, to make money out of it. So I saw he have it there 10 years. So I said to him, you know what? I will buy it for you for 800,000. I will just give, he wants 100. I will just put in my 2 cars, me and with my wife. No, he wants only this. He comes there to this, to take our quality of life in all the neighbors. And I know 7, 8, 9 people around it. They send in the papers. And I know all the family names. And he comes there only to make money. And this is a case in to take away our quality of life in the whole block. And this is a very not nice thing. He have a reputation of this, of the money things. And this is terrible, terrible thing. This is not, he comes there just to get for new people a license to build a bigger house. If like this, he can sell it, he make even a lot more money. You know what I mean? What? He wants to raise the prices. He wants to change the zoning, you know, and this is not fair because after you're gonna give him okay, he disappears, he sells it, he made the money, and we, all the neighbors, but we there 40, 50 years, we suffer. And please, people, I asking you, think about it. When your father is there and somebody wants to make it for money, how are you gonna act? I can't believe for money you take people's quality life and you want to disturb their life. And he doesn't want to live there, and he will tell you he doesn't want to live. He just want to have the paper, he can sell it and make more money. And this, I think, this is a terrible thing. And the whole block is, believe me, very disappointed. Think your father is there and somebody wants to make it for him. This is what I'm asking, just.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
Any other speakers?
The clock has run out.
Any other speakers? I
Is
see.
there any other speakers on this case? 2023-74 BZ 1871 54th Street, Brooklyn. Only this case.
Only for this case. I see somebody's phone number with last digit 370, another one 464, another one just says A. Anybody from this list wants to speak for this particular case? We have already heard other cases, prior cases, and if you have missed your opportunity to make your statement for those other cases, please do make your submission to submit@bsa.nyc.gov. Okay. I don't see anybody's hands being raised.
No.
All right.
And the
Nobody's.
3 minutes are up.
Okay, 3 minutes are up. Nobody's hands being raised. Again, anybody want to submit any your testimony, you can submit a written testimony at submit.ny. Sorry, thank you. Submit@bsa.nyc.gov for this case and for any of the other cases that were held today, heard today. Okay. So my question, commissioners, do you want to close on what the applicant stated with regards to revising the site plan?
I would reward them for doing the average on the fly. So I would, yeah.
Okay, all right. But please do submit the revised documents, all of them, zoning analysis, statement of facts, drawings, and the neighborhood character analysis, the revised document. And in your letter, just specifically state how each one is responding to the comments. And again, as Commissioner Sheta said, I do think it's wonderful that you have been able to do this in this short period of time. And thank Mr. Rasmussen for doing this. His neighborhood studies are always fun to read. And so.
If we can add it, the average value, if we can add it to the statement of facts, that would.
Right, it would be added to the statement of fact and it would be carried in the neighborhood character also.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, commissioners. Have a great day.
Right, and I just want to state it, like, this is an as of right use. The only request that the applicant is seeking is a modification of the side yards. And that is because unlike all the other buildings that have been built in these neighborhoods that were built in the 1920s, at that time, the zoning regulation was not as restrictive as it is today. So the detached homes that are there today were allowed to build with almost no side yards or with side yards as wide as 1 foot or 2 foot. So what the applicant is proposing is very much in keeping with what actually is built and what actually the applicant did in response to the questions we raised. They reduced the width of the building width to be very much similar to what the neighboring buildings have. On average, it's 18 foot wide, and that's what the applicant is proposing and is providing side yards that are very much in keeping with what is built there. Because if today anybody were to, and that's why the site is empty. If today anybody were to build anything, only thing they can build is a detached home, and a detached home requires two sets of 5 foot wide yards. That leaves nothing almost as a footprint to be built upon and for someone to live in. So I do appreciate the applicant listening to our comments and responding it on this so quickly and providing a solution. So thank you. And with that, I make a motion to close.
Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay. Hearing is closed on this. So we'll contact you, Ms. Landesman, for a hearing date, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for the clarification, Madam Chair. That was very helpful.
She has to submit a few other studies.
Mr. Rose, your
Yeah.
time to, if you want to submit more testimony, you can, but, you know, it's no longer available to speak. Okay, no other cases. This hearing is, public hearing for April 16th is closed, and that's it.
We will try to schedule this for either end of May or June decision.
Yeah, this concludes the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.